just to be named Part 2. That would probably help. All right. Let people pile in a little bit while I work on these. I'm going to pick up on listening to the next chapter of the Epithet Erased audiobook, which you can get in the link that I will post in the chat here and also in the video description. I'm going to listen to the next chapter of that, and then I'm going to catch up on the Heart of the Cards podcast by Dan Green and Eric Stewart. So, let's get underway.
Ground with a big old cigar for the smokestack.
Trixie mimed a puff of smoke.
I don't think it'll be a jerk factory.
Molly chuckled.
Knowing my sister, it'll probably be bunny-shaped and made out of carrot cake or something stupid like that.
And with that, the quartet of strange invaders walked off into the vast unknown world before them. No real idea of what they might encounter. Chapter 4. From the Heart. Deep within the heart of the Ambleglow Bramble was a witch's hut. It was a small bunny-shaped building made out of carrot cake or something stupid like that, and it was known to the denizens of this world as the Harridan's Hovel. The hovel stood tall over the surrounding garden with layers of cake brick and frosting mortar, its walls growing wider the higher they climbed. Atop the building was a conical roof with two thin chimneys that were, of course, shaped like bunny ears, with a third little chimney shooting out the back that looked like a tail. The whole top half was styled like a giant witch's hat matching the one on Laurie's head. The building was chock full of magic, but most magical of all was a room that the witch had named the Cauldrotorium, a laboratory with an enormous cauldron that spewed endless smoke from atop a winding staircase. The hovel's beating heart. Tinctures and tonics bubbled against the walls in an oversaturated rainbow of colors and flavors. Halloweeny oranges, radioactive greens, bubblegum pinks, and raspberries so blue that the word would legally have to be spelled with 2 Z's if you put it on a package. Raspberry. Every potion had a strong, candy-coated scent that mixed together in multicolored clouds at the top of the room, turning the place into one big screaming fog of nose blindness. It was like sniffing an exclamation point. The room was octagonal in shape, and full-length mirrors twinkled on every wall, reflecting the image of the cauldron at the center like a solar cooker. Every mirror had a slightly different shape and outline. The one with the frame shaped like a frog at the top began to ripple, and the Harridan floated in on her broomstick, dismounting and dusting herself off.
So annoying.
Oh, you're back!
Vincent Murder popped his head up from over the edge of the cauldron. He leapt over the podium and glided down to her level with his new gargoyle wings. Before her little sister had interrupted things, the two of them had been playing together, mixing potions, writing spells, that sort of thing. Vincent was a real natural at this. Normally, when she was inside her dream bubble, she had to come up with all the story beats herself, but Vincent could rattle off ideas for curses and bad guys and monsters like a machine gun. She almost had trouble keeping up, and she loved that. It was like a performance, and this Vincent guy made for a great audience. Playing real-life make-believe was way more fun when you had someone there to bounce ideas off of. Someone whose reactions could surprise you. Her new scene partner hit the floor and stretched out his wings.
Did you deal with that thing that was bugging you?
She flipped her expression into something sunny.
Yeah, it was no big deal.
Giovanni looked her up and down, and his eyes widened.
Whoa! Hang on!
He said.
You don't have a reflection!
He tapped the mirror behind her, which displayed only her broom.
Rad! Wait! Are you a vampire? If you're a vampire, you have to tell me! That's the vampire rules!
I could be.
Laurie grinned, and 2 sharp fangs popped into her smile. She hissed and made little vampire claws with her hands.
That's so cool!
Lorelei beamed. She was trying to ride the line between sexy and cute, and she was pretty sure that she was doing a good job of it. She hadn't tried flirting with a real boy in... gosh, it had been a long time. A really long time.
So, what's it like not having a reflection?
He asked.
How do you brush your teeth?
Never mind that.
she said, leading him out of the room.
So, how are you liking your powers?
Oh, they're awesome! Gargoyles are super underrated. Can you believe that there are like 0 gargoyle horror movies? What a waste.
It looks good on you.
She smiled.
But, are you sure you don't want me to spice up your costume a bit?
Nah, it's more fun to wear something I made myself.
This was the 3rd time she'd offered since arriving in the bubble. The only addition to his costume that Lorelei had been able to sell him on so far was a glowing effect where his stone body crackled like a lava flow when he flexed. Lori was very happy with this addition. It gave him an excuse to flex. In her experience, there was no better cure for a sour mood than a healthy dose of cute boy.
So,
She skipped and turned on her heel.
now that the annoying stuff is taken care of, how about you tell me about that secret evil plan of yours?
He crossed his arms and made a game show wrong answer noise.
Sorry! Minion ears only. I'd be happy to tell you if you pass the minion exam, though.
Dang it. She was hoping that he'd forgotten about that. Oh well, nothing for it.
Yeah, that sounds super fun. What do I have to do?
I've got the perfect test.
He smiled.
In fact, it's exactly the same as the first phase of the secret mission. Follow me to the kitchen!
He draped his cape over his stony claw and walked forward with big, lurching steps down the stairs like a Dracula. Lori snapped her fingers and lightning flashed through the windows. Giovanni clapped.
Woo! Hang on! Oh, do that again.
He straightened his back and cleared his throat. Then, again, in an even more evil voice, he said,
Follow me to the kitchen!
Lightning! Lorelei wiggled her fingers in the air and then smashed them down against the keys of an invisible piano. The booming sounds of a moaning pipe organ exploded out from the walls around them, dancing notes harmonizing with the lightning like a cheesy black and white monster movie. Giovanni cackled and resumed his cartoony lunge walk into the kitchen with Lorelei tiptoeing behind him.
Behold!
He flung out his cape.
The kitchen!
Lori accented his gesture with another organ sting. The kitchen didn't really deserve it. Unlike the rest of the hovel, which was lined with potions and ingredients, this kitchen was innocuous. Quaint, even. There were no magic gizmos, no sparkling doodads, just a humble kitchen with even ceramic tiles and a picnic blanket over the table. Bunnies and bears danced in painted parades across the countertops and on oven mitts and towels. Honeyed sunshine poured into the room and painted it yellow. Compared to the rest of the hovel, this kitchen almost felt like something from another time. A dollhouse moment encased in amber with love and care. There was just one thing out of place. Lorelei looked over to the table.
What are you doing here?
She frowned. In the center of the table was an ornate golden bird cage. It had interlocking vine patterns on it, similar to the lantern that hung over the cobblestone bridge. Only instead of light inside, there was Naven. He had been transformed into a pixie with 4 iridescent wings sticking out of his back like a dragonfly. "Hello, Miss Blinddeath," he said, crossing his legs and leaning back in his tiny recliner. "If I recall, I believe you kidnapped me for, quote, ransom and stuff."
No, I mean, how did you get in here? I left your cage in the Coldratorium.
Oh, Mr. Murder took me on a little tour around the hovel. Nice young man. Quite accomplished as a villain, too. Did you know that he was the one who broke into the Sweet Jazz Museum? Told me all about it. Took the time to brew me some tea, too. He took a little sip from a toy teacup that had been taken from a nearby dollhouse. Now that's what I call a proper host. Lorelei flicked her wand and the toy tea set upended itself out of Naven's hands. The kettle flew out of the cage, flipped upside down, and spilled its entire contents onto the countertop, which was exactly 2 drops.
You're not supposed to be enjoying yourself,
She said.
You're a prisoner in the Harridan's hovel, the prettiest witch in the Ambleglow Bramble. You're supposed to be scared.
Naven gave a thoughtful glance towards the air in front of him. That may be. But still, I'd be careful how you treat me. I am a valuable hostage, after all, and I believe that you are still being evaluated. Lorelei turned and looked at Giovanni, who was writing something down in a tiny notebook. Lori stammered. Had she done something wrong? She thought that tormenting a hostage was pretty villainy. Naven rose from his chair and fluttered his wings. Take a look here, for instance, he said. Now, and I don't mean to be a nitpicker, but the gaps in this cage are awfully large. I can just fly right out, see? He lazily floated outside the bounds of the cage, grabbed the tea set, and returned to his seat, placing them upright on his little lattice garden table. He held the cup aloft. Refill? Lorelei scrunched up her face and swirled her wand. The cup filled to the brim. No poison? She frowned. Her wand flicked in a circle and the color changed to a lighter shade of brown. Thank you, he sipped. Giovanni wrote something else down in his notebook. Lorelei tried to lean over for an unsubtle look, but Giovanni bounded out of the way like a human rubber band.
No peeking. Your job is to complete your secret mission while demonstrating the most important quality a minion can have.
You said that before when we met. It's being evil, right?
Giovanni avoided eye contact. Who can say? Naven shrugged in a non-committal way. Lori stuck her tongue out at him.
You be quiet. You're not a part of this.
Oh, but I very much am. Mr. Murder has invited me to be his second judge.
What? What? Why?
She turned towards Giovanni like he had betrayed her.
What does this guy know about being evil?
Oh, you might be surprised. Naven swirled the tea in his cup. I am a CEO, after all, and some of us can be rather nasty.
Yeah! Screw capitalism!
Giovanni danced. Yes, screw me, Naven sipped, returning to his doll-sized magazine. It had only 2 pages with no words on either of them besides fashion printed in big letters on a sticker, but he seemed content with it. What's more, Mr. Murder has informed me about that most important quality that he'll be looking for. At the end of the challenge, the 2 of us will confer and decide whether or not you fit the bill. So it would seem that your fate rests in my tiny, tiny hands. He tilted his head and smiled at her. Lori imagined herself squishing him into paste.
All right.
She crossed her arms.
So, what's this test?
Yes, the assignment.
Giovanni put away his notebook.
A drum roll, please.
Lori gave a lazy wave of the hand, and an invisible drummer began non-diegetically rat-a-tat-tatting. Giovanni threw out his arms and posed with each syllable.
Your mission is to make some cookies.
Lorelei blinked.
Cookies?
Yep,
For real?
for really real.
Okay.
Lorelei snapped her fingers and a plate of hot, steaming cookies twinkled into existence, evenly spaced on a spick-and-span baking sheet. Steam wafted off of them with a chocolatey scent so heavenly it could have lifted a cartoon character and carried them through an open window.
All done. Mission complete.
Now.
Giovanni waved.
You gotta make real cookies from the heart.
Lori blinked twice. She snapped her fingers and her own cartoon heart popped out of her chest, leaving a heart-shaped hole. It sprouted little rubber hose arms and legs and produced an identical plate of cookies from Hammerspace, honky-tonking across the table and doing a little jazz hands.
Ta-da!
It said with razzle-dazzle flair.
No, terrifying, but no. Let's put that thing back.
He grabbed her heart and it fluttered.
Whoa, careful there, little fella.
Lori flushed. She took the heart back from him, plugging it into her chest like a cork in a bottleneck.
Your powers are so weird.
He smiled at her in a warm, lopsided, genuine way. She was glad he'd taken his helmet off. His eyes were sharp, but there was a strange softness to them. Like they were fully focused on what you had to say and they wanted to hear you say it. She wasn't used to people looking at her like that. Her heart fluttered again. She flipped away from him so he wouldn't see it literally banging against her chest, a prisoner desperate for human contact.
What do you mean by from the heart, exactly?
You know, something that only you can make. It doesn't have to be good, per se, but it has to be you. You have to mean it, you know?
She didn't. He tapped his foot and tried to find the right words.
Like, okay, if you sing your heart song, that means it's coming from deep inside. Like, even if it sucks, you gotta sing it. It doesn't matter what other people think, but it's gotta come out because you're in the flow and it's you.
He sang the last part. It sucked out loud, but she couldn't help but like it and let out a little laugh.
Okay. So, how do I do that with cookies?
Well, first you take a good recipe, which I just so happen to have.
He ripped the page he had been scribbling on out of his notebook. It was a recipe for a batch of 3 dozen chocolate chip cookies. He handed it to her.
And now all you need to do is put your own twist on it.
He gestured to the oven.
You have 1 hour. And begin.
Chapter 5, Love Spell.
You can listen to the rest of Chapter 5 and beyond on the Epithet Erased Prison of Plastic cinematic audio at soundboottheater.com. Go search Epithet Erased and or Prison of Plastic to find it. That was how long I was given permission to play any other further chapters and stuff. So, that is as far as I'm going to go with that. Thank you once again to Jill Apocalypse for allowing me to play that as some listening material while I'm working. Next up, I'm going to listen to the next episode of the Heart of the Cards podcast from a few days ago. This is Dan Green and Eric Stewart's podcast, which I will link in here in the chat. If you want to go to youtube.com/Audromeda Productions, you can listen to the Heart of the Cards podcast. I wrote in actually a letter to Dan and Eric. I don't know if they'll be reading it, but I'm happy to listen to this. So let's take a listen to the newest episode.
Welcome to the Heart of the Cards, a conversation about creativity, inspiration, and dealing with what we're dealt. With your hosts, Dan Green and Eric Stewart.
Welcome to the Heart of the Cards. I'm Dan Green.
And I'm Eric Stewart.
And we wish you a Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year 2023.
Woohoo, we made it! Yay!
Yay.
And today we're reading some more letters from our wonderful followers.
Yes, thank you for sending those to us. We start off with a letter from Jolene. Jolene writes, I discovered Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was still a kid. It got recorded on one of the cassettes my grandma used to record for my cousin. From that moment on, Yu-Gi-Oh! Would and still is a big part of my life. It may sound silly, but without Yu-Gi-Oh!, I might not have had the same love for art and courage to go through life that I have now. Yu-Gi-Oh! Might just be a show on TV, but the life lessons the show keeps portraying about friendship and being true to yourself and sticking up for yourself when hard times happen, I have learned so much. I feel as if Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the show that had the biggest impact on my life out of any other. From going to cons to making artworks around the show. I've found friends with similar interests thanks to the show. I even have created my own character in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! My creativity had a major boost thanks to the show. I feel like it's an outlet for me, and that's why I'm ever so grateful.
Thank you, Jolene.
Yeah.
What a wonderful letter. And it is a shining example of finding inspiration around you. I love that the idea it's just a TV show was addressed, but look at what Jolene did with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've said the same thing ourselves, where we've said, look, I know people think it might just be a TV show, but there is more to it, and I'm just honored to be part of that.
And that it was something that Jolene came to because Grandma was recording
yes.
for Jolene's cousin. That's a charming. I can see that little picture.
Yes.
And I believe Jolene also refers to an ancient technology referred to as cassettes. Yeah. Is that how it's pronounced? Cassettes?
I think it's cassettes.
Yeah. Cassettes.
Yes. En français.
Exactly. It's very multicultural.
Yes.
Yeah, and the persistent themes of friendship, and I also like the reinforcement of sticking up for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's a message that isn't as commonly quoted from the show as, the power of friendship or even believing in the heart of the cards,
Ooh.
which is another test of where you're putting your confidence, where you're putting your faith. But that is not the same thing as exactly as I'm standing up for myself, which is something obviously that Yugi learns.
Yes, I've heard that a couple of times.
I think Kaiba sticks up for himself all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I like how Jolene mentions the connection of meeting friends at the conventions with similar interests. I mean, that's what's always very special to see when we experience that live as well, seeing the community. So that's great that Jolene experiences that as well.
We've heard that story many times before, but it's always a nice one to hear.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Oh, looks like you've got the next letter.
Very good. So our next letter comes to us from Annabelle. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the first anime I was introduced to as a kid. I didn't have a lot of friends and was bullied in school for being a nerd. I was also a girl and bullied for liking a boy show or game. But I didn't let that stop me from enjoying the show and the characters. Every Saturday morning on Kids WB, I would await the new episode. I would see myself traveling with the characters on their journey and their lessons in discovering about themselves and the friendships they made along the way. My mom even told me I would yell at Kaiba to stop being mean to Yugi. He was, and still is, my favorite character in the show. I saw a lot of who I wanted to be in Yugi. Kind, confident, brave to stand up for his friends, and the morals he saw as right. He was my first real friend I remember having because he was always around when I needed him. As I got older, I took the lessons I learned from Yugi and his friends and applied them to my real life. I stand up for those who can't protect themselves or who need a helping hand when times are tough. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has helped me to make friendships I never would have otherwise. It even helped me to discovering the person who would become the love of my life, even if neither of us knew it at the time. My Aibo, partner in Japanese. I never would have found them had it not been for our shared love of Yu-Gi-Oh! We cosplay as Yami and female Yugi, respectively, and always have a great time sharing our favorite moments of the show. Thank you so much, Dan Green, Eric Stewart, and of course, Mr. Takahashi, for voicing the most important show to my childhood and for giving this series the heart and soul of a champion.
Wow. That's really a sweet letter, Annabelle. I love the image of the cosplay as well. Yami and a female Yugi. That's really cool. I think that's a neat approach to those characters. And also just once again talking about how a show like this helped make new friends and even the comment about watching a boys show. You know, one of the one of the things that I remember having a conversation with one of the head people at Konami about the tournaments was that they really wanted to see more women participating in the game. And it was a slow process because, you know, they definitely felt like they were not being accepted into that. And I've seen that change over time. I mean, there's still room for even more inclusion. But this, but addressing that in this letter, it's important as well. It's not a boys' show, and it's not a girls' show. It's just it's just it's a people show. It talks about relationships and friendships, and none of that has anything to do with what gender you are or identify with.
Absolutely, and it's interesting that this is probably a fan who's in their later 20s or maybe even early 30s. And at the time, back in the early 2000s when the show was new to the United States, of course, we thought about gender in a more traditional way. Mm-hmm. So to accuse something as being for boys or for girls was probably a very accurate statement, at least in terms of how the show was being marketed. But that's very different than what's in the show itself and what people can take away from it.
True. And I also think that if you really dive into the show, the female characters that are in the show are all very strong.
Absolutely.
Even though Taya doesn't really duel very much, she's still a very strong character. And then, of course,
she's a central element to that circle of friendship.
Exactly. And then Mai Valentine is one of the coolest, toughest characters in the show. So yeah, I think that the balance is still a little skewed one way, but there's still great examples of strong female characters in the show. It just takes a little while to find them, especially as you said, in the way that it was marketed and promoted.
Exactly. Would it be fair to say that Pegasus could be categorized as androgynous?
Probably. That would make sense. I think that some of the feedback we've gotten from some of the fans, I know from some great stories that I've been told by some fans, they felt that James from Team Rocket was inspiration to being themselves and either coming out or whether it was transgender or whatever it was, gender fluid, whatever the connection was. I didn't really think of that in my approach to portraying James, but if that's what people got from it and inspiration and motivation, then fantastic. That's a nice bonus to the performance.
Yeah, we were going to do either a letters episode or an episode where we tell some of our favorite fan experience stories.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do that next time.
Yes.
But one of them was similar to what you were just describing about the fan base finding some things that help them with their identity or just things that they felt that they could relate to and identify with.
Yes.
And somebody who I met just this year when we were in Raleigh, which was a great con, had a lot of fun there, was a person who is trans, and they appreciated that Yugi, I think the term used was soft boy. So there was a tenderness, a gentility about Yugi that helped the identification and just feeling and the feeling of connection.
Yeah.
And I guess sort of permission to become their true self.
Yep.
But I'll tell more of that story.
Yeah, definitely.
In another episode.
But it is nice that this letter addresses just that the power of the friendship, and once again, there's a common theme here, and that's wonderful.
And another element that I really like about this that I can resonate with personally is as Annabelle says, there's this installation of values, and I know it sounds really, well, perhaps superficial or simplistic or corny, but I got a reinforcement of values definitely through the superheroes that I was, admiring and
sure
loved as a kid. So, with Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. That's actually a catchphrase that you can apply in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget, I actually heard that almost repeated verbatim in a recent news article regarding something happening. Whenever I was feeling at a loss of what to do, as old as like in my 20s, I would think to myself, okay, what would Cap do? Meaning Captain America.
Sure. No, yeah. Yep.
He doesn't give up. He comes up with a plan. And
that's great. That's great. Great letter.
As an independent production company, Andromeda greatly benefits from the support of its audience. If you're able to contribute as little as $1 a month, consider going to our Patreon page. Any support you can give means a lot to us creators, and we're excited to bring you more. Visit AndromedaProductions.com and see what's in store. If this is content you enjoy, please like, subscribe, and share on YouTube.
I guess I am next. This next one comes from Alexander. I'm a middle school teacher that hosts a Yu-Gi-Oh club at the school I teach at. The students not only get constant practice with math and reading, but also get the opportunity to get together with like-minded individuals to share their passion for the game. I've had students reach out to me before joining, explaining that they were having a hard time making friends. By the end of the year, they walk away with not only a clear understanding of how the game is played, but with some great friends. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
I love that letter. I love that reality that there's a helpful educational aspect.
Yeah. I mean, it's really nice to hear from a teacher. That's really cool. A lot of times these shows, or whether you're reading comics in school, or which you shouldn't be doing, but if I know you and I did. That sometimes that's the thing that the teacher doesn't quite understand, that you're getting something from this, but to use the game. In order to bring the students together and give them confidence, and also sort of, that's a great way to make those friends and finding the quirky kids that find this interesting, who might feel isolated, and then they realize, oh my goodness, I'm part of the norm here because this whole group of people are all quirky and into this stuff. So that's really nice and inspiring that the teacher sees that.
Recognizes it can be used in that way, in a very constructive way that really benefits, the students there. When I was in 7th grade, I was a part of, I think it was called the Strategy Club. Basically, it was the room where you could go to on your free period, and you could play D&D or Risk, and these are strategy games that and strategy games, obviously Duel Monsters is a huge strategy game as well, but with Dungeons and Dragons, which I actually just played over the break. I was so delighted to be able to do so. But there's rudimentary math, but more importantly, there's role playing, and you're portraying characters, and you're also with the when you have to roll the dice to see if you have a successful attack or successfully defend or successfully achieve an action that you're trying to achieve. It's the idea of applying metrics and chance to a situation, and that is something that you can also carry over to life to a certain degree.
Sure.
So,
well, that's neat that you had that. Yeah, we had 2 lounges in our school, and one of them was the game lounge, and being someone that sort of walked that line between being a jock and also being kind of a geek. I was able to hang out in both lounges. It was amazing to go into the game lounge and see the intensity of some of the D&D games that were going on, and Risk too. That's true. This is neat, and I think a teacher that gets this and understands this. That's fantastic, and I hope more people who are in the education world realize that there is something cool to get from something as complicated. I mean, these games are complicated.
Yes. More complicated than I can understand.
Oh yeah, I directed the show and I still don't know all the rules. So, but fantastic, great letter. Thank you, Alexander.
Well, and I'd like to observe just one more thing. So you were a jock and a geek.
Yep.
And a rocker.
Yep.
So was your yearbook page like a fold out?
Did
they
that's
have
very
extra
funny.
Categories?
That's very funny. We actually I did my yearbook page with what you got was each person got half a page. So
oh wow.
4 of us got together so that we could have sort of like a double centerfold spread, and but we mixed up what we did. So my good friend Sean, who is a big basketball player, we put him on the tennis court like me, and then there's a shot of me dunking on the playing basketball. But of course, the way the angle is taken, I'm up on a ladder. You can't see that, but I'm dunking because, of course, I was the tennis guy and the soccer guy, not the basket. And then 2 of my friends, let's just say they were walking down the street to go participate in some extracurricular high school activities at the time, which, of course, is legal in some states now. And then we did some fun pictures. I'll have to show it to you sometime. But yes, there was a lot.
That would be great.
There was a lot of fun. But yes, a fold out would have been helpful too.
We can throw that up in another episode.
Oh, good Lord, no!
Watch it on YouTube.
Oh boy, yes, just a bit. I actually reenacted the basketball dunk at a convention where we were together. If you remember when we were in Arizona, they had those basketball.
Ubu,
yeah.
Uwu, rather, sorry.
Exactly. And I took a picture of myself dunking on one of the lower basketball rims, yes, and posted that as an homage to my yearbook picture, yes, which only I remembered. So there you go.
There is a shorter basketball hoop set up at my children's elementary school. I could do that.
You need to do it. Yes. What you do is you grab the rim and look like you're screaming as if you're like really just dunking that ball, and it's hilarious. Yeah. So anyway,
we'd have to get a fan to blow my hair around. So
yes,
like
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
yes, I don't have that problem, but there you go.
Next up, we have a letter from Seamus.
Oh.
And Seamus says, "Hi, Dan and Eric. I'm a huge fan of your podcast." Oh, that's so nice
Thank
to hear.
you.
And a lifelong fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. I'll try to keep this brief in the event you share this on the podcast. Well, guess what? We are.
Mm-hmm.
But there is absolutely no pressure to do so. As a child, I watched both anime religiously and collected the trading cards with a passion. Believe it or not, it took me a long time to realize Kaiba and Brock were voiced by the same person.
Surprise!
LOL. Hey! At school, Pokemon was very popular, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Took a back seat. I got bullied for liking it. Nevertheless, that series in particular was an escape. It took me until my young adult years to realize it. But the duality between Yugi and Yami's relationship is so compelling. Yami teaches Yugi about courage and standing on his own 2 feet. In return, Yugi teaches Yami about compassion. But neither attempts to change the other into something they're not. They both mold each other into the best versions of themselves. As a kid dealing with the bullies at school and occasionally family strife at home, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a portal to another world. I would line up my toys, build 2 decks of cards, and have them duel each other. My imagination could run wild from there. I owe the late, great Takahashi-sensei an enormous debt of gratitude for the wondrous world he created, because it was a catalyst for creativity in my own life. Today, I'm an aspiring singer. You know something about that, Eric.
Yeah.
I'd say you're way past aspiring. I attended and participate in an open mic every Tuesday.
Wow.
I won't brag or say, right? You've done those too. You've hosted those.
Yep.
I won't brag or say I'm the best thing since the Eric Stewart Band. But music is a vital and important art form to me, and I take it very seriously. Especially in the wake of the pandemic and some turbulence in my personal life, I felt more compelled than ever to seek out things I love and to never pass up opportunities. I'm reminded of a quote from the late, great Kobe Bryant. Being fearless means putting yourself out there and going for it. I have moments where I fear failure, and I have moments where the effort I put into my craft isn't where it should be. But the spark to create and perform never wavers, and drives me to the best that I can be. In this light, the lessons I learned from Yu-Gi-Oh! About believing in yourself are more important than ever. I'll close by saying your podcast has also been a source of profound inspiration every week. It's a joy and a pleasure to hear the voices that shaped my childhood, offering advice that's even more resonant to my adult life. I also appreciate tips and tricks providing us 4 pieces of advice for the price of 3. Hearing you guys talk about your formative years and the experiences that shape the people and performers you are today is very profound, and I can't thank you enough for the wisdom you provide. With that, I'll place 1 card face down on the field and end my turn. Thank you for making my childhood awesome, and thank you for your amazing podcast that does so much more for me than I can properly express. Take care, Seamus. It's your move. P.S. What does Pot of Greed do?
What does it do? Oh,
I don't know. I never heard of that card.
No. Wow, what an amazing letter.
Seriously, I don't know if it's true that he can't properly express that, because I thought that was very properly expressed.
Yeah, and you know, it's something that seems to be, unfortunately, a recurring.
Although I'm not sure if Seamus is male or female. I shouldn't have drawn to that conclusion.
I was going to say the unfortunate thing that keeps popping up in some of the letters and some of the stories that have been shared with us is this bullying that goes along with you know, finding interest in something that is different. It's a card game, it's a cartoon, it's not what, you know, I like to watch, so it must be wrong. And I don't understand that approach to life. But I have to give these people, these fans, a lot of credit, because even with that going on, it didn't stop them from participating and following something that they enjoyed.
Right.
And you know, in life, there will always be the masses, but just because the majority of people think something, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way to think, and it also doesn't mean that it's the right way to think. And also, people's opinion, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. like the idea that someone would give me a hard time because, well, I liked a certain musical artist as opposed to something else that was cooler, or, you know, quote unquote cooler, or more rock and roll. No, I mean, I think that is just another way for people to try to cut you down and better themselves because they probably have some low self-esteem. And so having this strength to be doing this on your own, or maybe finding the very few other people that like what you like, and connect with them, with also dealing with the knuckleheads, the idiots. I'm impressed. I mean, it angers me that that's part of the process, but it also impresses me that these letters show that they got through that, and whether the show or whatever inspiration they got from that helped along the way, fantastic. But it seems that the majority of these people got through that on their own, from their own strength.
Absolutely. And a couple things that stand out, the bullying is one of them. And I hear many of those stories probably because Yugi exemplifies part of that struggle. But another thing is the escape, the importance of having a place you can go in your imagination, which is probably the largest territory we all have within us, that can help when other things around you are challenging, or as Seamus said, there was strife at home, and difficulty, you know, with the bullying at school, and having that place where you can go, where you feel safe, where you feel inspired, where you feel you're gaining strength from it, is so essential, I think, when you're definitely in your formative periods, but even beyond that. You know, we need respites, we need refuge, we need places where we can find some courage, or at least some relief from stress, which is never ending. And stress has obviously been unlike any other levels we're used to. The pandemic is better controlled now, but clearly it's not over. And even if it were, it still would have been a huge chapter, you know, a crater in our culture, not just in the United States, obviously, but worldwide. And, you know, having these places where we can find some strength is great. And I also deeply appreciate that Seamus cited the podcast as providing some of that same reinforcement. And when you and I were talking about what do we want to do with this podcast, we were very clear when we came to the decision to do it in the way that we are, that we're making a podcast that the fans aren't asking for.
Right.
If we were to predict what that would be, then yes, we would be reviewing the episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Sure.
Or we would be talking more exclusively about anime and voiceover. And I'm not saying we won't do podcasts that are like that, but this podcast isn't that kind of conversation. And I really appreciate that the people who are following it are receiving it in the way that we intend. And I'm also really grateful that Seamus is reflecting it has some use, it has some meaning that matters.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Seamus also discusses the fact that not only did the show give motivation for creativity, or seeing that, but has taken this and followed through with Seamus has chosen to become a singer and participates in an open mic, and that's really fantastic, because those are the kinds of things
that excites me.
Yeah, and those are the kinds of things that you might be intimidated by.
Sure.
If you let some of this other negative energy bring you down or tell you shouldn't be doing this. And
you can bully yourself out of something.
Sure, but it seems that Seamus has said, you know what? I see the benefit of following your passion and your inspiration, and it's fantastic. And once again, it doesn't matter if you become a famous musician or whatever you're after. Just enjoy that journey. Enjoy the fact that you're doing that. An open mic is a scary, wonderful thing. That's fantastic. People might not know who you are, and you're getting up there and singing a song you might have written, or your interpretation of a well-known song, and who knows what's going to happen. But you know what? You're doing that, and I think that's wonderful that the combination between the show and hearing inspirational messages have motivated you to follow in your own passion. That's great.
Yeah, I think that's probably the greatest reward I can receive in my motivation to have this podcast, this conversation, and to clarify something that's probably understood. You and I don't feel like we're the pinnacle of achievement.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But you and I are grateful for our lives and what we have, and being able to contribute something that's positive, that helps people take their own risks that will pay off perhaps in that way, is really what drives us to do the podcast week to week. And we've said it before, creativity is its own reward. You say it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yep.
And while those may sound like cliches, that doesn't take away from the fact that they're absolutely true.
Yes.
So
Awesome. Great.
Thank you, Seamus.
Yes. All right, so I get the next letter, and this one is from Nick. Nick writes, "Hi, everyone. I want to thank you deeply for taking the time, resources, and creative energy to establish this new platform." Oh, thanks, Nick. Like many, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been a very, very important part of my life for going on 20 years now.
Oh, you are old,
right? I know. Whenever someone tells me how long that they've been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, it just reminds me how old I am, since I kind of know how old I was when I started working on those shows. But that's fine. I appreciate that, Nick. Many fantasy protagonists bode a level of righteousness that is important to aspire to, but is difficult to compare to. Yugi and Kaiba are both flawed individuals that show us how to strive for being better with what we have, despite our stubbornness that may impede. You two brought those characters to us in a way that lasted. That's no coincidence. Hearing your voices and discussing your journey is enough for me to listen. But as an aspiring musician working a 9-to-5 office job, the insight you provide on the creative journey is a guidance that does not fall on deaf ears. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Eric. Wow, Nick. Yeah. Wow. I'm glad that you see what we're trying to bring to these characters in our performance. That is important. The fact that Yugi and Kaiba, yes, they do have flaws, as all of us do. It's whether we let that define us and cripple us, or we find a way to work with it and around it. So that's very kind of you to notice that we try to do that as the actors behind the characters as well, in a subtle way. I do think that that's another thing, is that we're not hitting you over the head with that, but it's something that's definitely a undercurrent to both those characters. So you're another aspiring musician. I love it. And you're working a 9 to 5 job. That's cool too, because most shows are after 5 p.m. So obviously you can get home or grab something to eat before you have to load into a gig or whatever you're doing. That's great. And yes,
you had a really cool. It wasn't exactly 9 to 5, but you had an office job.
Sure.
Right? You had to report to a place,
Yep.
But your music kept going. My wife, she also had a 9 to 5 job, but was doing voiceover work and also creating her albums and performing in New York City.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
those two things can coexist.
Exactly. And just because not that Nick is even addressing that, but because you have a day job, which might be the way that you're making your money, that's not who you are.
That doesn't take away from what you can create.
Right. And you might love your day job. It might be something that's even involved in the industry and you enjoy it, but you need more of your creative outlet with your music. But that's really that's great that you're doing that. And I'm just impressed with the fact that this show has been part of your life for that many years. I mean, 20 years. That's pretty cool. The consistency of the shows, of the characters, of the storyline, of the morals behind it. I think that resonates here, showing that Nick still finds these characters and their stories interesting and inspiring. So thank you for that.
And I can't help but observe the characters, the idea of the characters, that's not Eric and I.
Right.
We're honoring those ideas. And I did a thing on Instagram where I answered a question about the difference between dubbing and prelay.
Mm-hmm.
And but I started with the similarity, which is you have to mean what you say. So while I don't think you and I can take credit for the characters themselves, we I think can allow ourselves a little credit for portraying them in a way that felt alive and appropriate to the story and fulfilling to the character.
Well,
so,
yes,
thank you.
And I know it would be character appropriate for me to take full credit for what I do with Kaiba as the actor that portrays Kaiba. But I will say this about at least my perspective of your performance and what you bring to Yugi and Yami. There is
next. Do it again with talent next time.
Yes, well, yes, that's the line, but I wasn't going to make fun of you this time.
No,
I
misread that.
I was going to say that honestly, I really think that your approach to those characters, the two personalities of of what I consider really one soul.
Right.
I think I don't know that I'd want to hear someone else portray that because and I'm honest. I think that the personality of Dan Green and the caring, the gentleness that's there and the strength that's there from the actor, the person, definitely resonates within that character. And it would be very easy to play those two personalities very generic, very cookie cutter. Oh yeah, he's kind of the young, the innocent kid, and he's the heroic Superman-esque character. I don't get that from the way you portray them, and I think that it because of the way that you are bringing your own personality into the personalities of these two characters, I think that that's what makes them that much better and makes them that much more easy to connect to and listen to and trust and also be vulnerable. Those of us who know you as a person, I think would really understand how much of Dan Green is in these characters.
That's the kindest thing I've ever heard.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah,
I'm speechless, and thank you for that.
No, I think as actors, even though we are directed or told to approach characters a certain way, or there might be a reference, especially if we're looking at something that we're dubbing, we might at least reference something, from the original, whether we did or not. But I mean, I bring my personality to Kaiba. I do that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Someone asked me the other day, they're like, did you find it hard to play that role and find the voice? And I'm like, it's not the voice. I mean, I do like what I do to exaggerate my real speaking voice to play Kaiba, but it's all attitude. It's just all it's all delivery. And without sounding like an egomaniac, I will take credit for you can write me a terrible Kaiba line and I will still sell it.
Absolutely you will. Yes. And you have a natural confidence.
Thank you.
Which, when you dial it up for Kaiba, becomes an arrogance.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And not every actor is comfortable portraying that energy.
Sure. Yeah. I think we're both saying the same thing about each other. I really think we are bringing pieces of ourselves to these characters, and that's part of the special flavor that they have. So
I'll share this story from Erica Schroeder, who we'll obviously also have to have on here.
Yes.
And she would not be upset with me to share that when she first started working with you, she was so intimidated because you were so confident.
Yeah.
I think she told you that herself.
Yes, she's actually told the fans that too. They're also they're so afraid of me now. Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Yep. Really just a teddy bear.
Yeah, I know.
So I guess I'm next with Stephanie.
Oh.
Who writes, I'll read the subject here, Finding My Way. And Stephanie says, "Hi, I'm a somewhat simple 25-year-old from Northeast Florida. Within the past few years of my life, I've experienced something I like to call an early life crisis, where there wasn't really a path for myself to follow that wasn't completely laid out by my family members. I had tried going to college, but it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I had a very hard time keeping up. I had a job that, while the pay was good, I was constantly undermined for the work I was putting in. There was very little communication, and any work that could be done was never done unless I was the one who did it or took the initiative to do it. Just this year, I've quit that job and found one that I thoroughly enjoy, and have found the time to be able to try new things. I also began to go to local conventions for the first time and meeting people that are just as nerdy or kooky as I am, and it's given me a new perspective on what I want to do and why I enjoy being the kind of person I am. Listening to you guys talk about the hero's journey and your own personal experiences, whether it's growing up or moving into a new place, has helped me begin to truly carve a path I can walk on for the first time in my life and realize that it's going to be okay if things don't go that way. You just got to keep your chin up and keep going."
Wow.
I'd say that's a big lesson learned.
Yeah, Stephanie. I have to say that other people having a plan for you is not necessarily the best thing. Sometimes that comes from fear.
It doesn't make them bad people.
No, they might be fearing the risk that you want to take, and
or they feel they need to give you that guidance. Very often it comes from a good place,
exactly.
or a well-intended place.
Yeah, but I've spoken about my college journey in previous podcasts. I left school to pursue what I loved, which scared my parents a little bit. But it seems that you are taking the initiative to follow what you want to do, and the job
that is so wise.
Yeah.
That is so wise.
Yeah, and the job that you were doing was not something that was satisfying, and it was frustrating. So you made a change. And you made a change for the better, and that's fantastic. I love, again, talking about the conventions and meeting the nerds and kooks just like you, just like me. I mean, trust me, when
they are your people.
When Dan and I talk about Star Wars and superheroes and things like that, I mean, we might as well be 15 years old. It's and so it's wonderful that you are also part of that world of the fandom as well. So, but yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. I love the cosplays at conventions.
Yes.
I love that people have that passion and they're just like, here it is, I'm doing this, and it's just beautiful to see.
Yeah.
And some cosplays are extraordinarily well achieved and others less so, but I always love them. Right? That they're just embracing that passion.
I love it, and I love when you
a
see
joy to
someone
me.
you see someone in this elaborate cosplay, and you think to yourself, did they ride public transportation to get here? Or were they driving in their car dressed like that? I just think, and sometimes I will joke around with the fans when they come up, and it's obviously they've done a whole big production with the cosplay, and I'll say coming straight from work, and they're like, no, I work in a bank, and I'm like, you should just dress like that. I think that in all honesty, and I'm not just being silly, but in all honesty, like cosplay and dressing up and not necessarily as characters that are from shows, but just as a character in life. Someone made a pop of me, and it's of me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's of me, and I'm like, of course, because I'm a character. Like, we're all characters. So if you want to dress up, you want to wear something fun or quirky or whatever, just do it. Like, and that's what I love about the cosplay community. It's like, I'm just going to dress up in anything I want to dress up as, and that's fantastic. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. That's great. What an encouraging letter. So, we've been receiving some letters about, thanks, for this because it encouraged me or inspired me in this way. I get encouraged by these letters.
Yes. I agree. I mean, we spent so much time working on these shows in a booth with maybe one or two other people in the room, the engineer, the director, whatever. Sometimes,
right. We don't know what impact it may or may not have.
We don't have that feedback. We don't know,
and we both know what it's like to perform live.
That's right. And this is not only the feedback that is obviously makes us feel like maybe we're doing something good with our career choices, but also it's really just nice to be included in this inclusive community. I am really humbled by that. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I think if the world behaved more like the way people behave with each other at conventions, we would all get along a lot better. So.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. So the next letter is from Jonathan. And Jonathan's subject is tuning in to what feels right. 4 years ago, I was in college, trying to get a degree in computer science because I liked computers. But at some point, I realized that's not what I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And play Yu-Gi-Oh! When I finally told my parents this, my dad encouraged everyone to go along with it. Nice. So I dropped out of college and started working on creating a website that teaches how to get good at Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've never been happier. I started reading more, which I wasn't a fan of before, as well as meditate, which I thoroughly enjoy. Best part, my dad started to get me things to help with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Journey, which still feels like a pipe dream, even as I write this. And none of that would have happened had I not started taking this risk to go on this Yu-Gi-Oh! Journey. It's still risky even now, but it just feels right to me. Right now, I love the person I've become, the environment I've created for myself, and the life I now live. And I always look forward to what tomorrow might bring. To that, I thank Yu-Gi-Oh! And everyone else that made the show what it is. Whoa, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jonathan, yeah.
Lots of cool stuff happening there.
Yeah.
Props to the dad. Props to the dad.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The support is fantastic. And also, I love that you state now you love the person you've become. I mean,
that is the most
if you're not,
precious thing.
If you're not, I mean, that's where I think we all strive to be, right?
I'm not there.
No.
I'm not there.
No. I'm working.
That's enviable.
I'm still working on it myself. I mean, I'm getting closer, but that's very impressive. Yeah. And I also, I like the fact that you're reading more. And that's something that you didn't enjoy.
Because it was coming from a different sense of obligation.
Right.
Or it wasn't framed in a way that you wanted to participate with, but then now it's something that makes sense for what you're doing.
Yeah, and always trying to learn more and absorb and research and read. I mean, the act of reading is so important in the way that the mind works, especially if you're reading creative stories where there are no pictures. I'm not talking about those books. I'm talking about the ones where you have to put the pictures in your mind while you're reading it. It just helps with the imagination. It helps with your own creativity. So that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Well done. And also in terms of understanding who you are and being honest with what it is you're responding to and what you are understanding is not you. Some people don't even look that far, and so they'll never understand what those answers could be. And another thing that this really aligns with is there's this catchphrase that Joseph Campbell is known for, and we've obviously been using the hero's journey as a structure in our conversations on the Heart of the Cards, but Joseph Campbell's well-known phrase is follow your bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a shining example of what that can offer you if you have the courage to do so. So well done, Jonathan.
Yeah, and obviously
and
from Jonathan's statement about 4 years ago being in college, Jonathan is a younger person.
Yep.
And to be at that point with that much clarity at a young age is impressive.
Yeah. Well done. Our next letter is from Christopher, and it's entitled Yu-Gi-Oh! And Writing. And Christopher writes, I've been a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Since day one. I made so many friends because of it, especially when it came to writing my Yu-Gi-Oh! Fanfics. I met so many friends online who shared the same passion and who were inspired by me through Yu-Gi-Oh! Some have told me that my stories have gotten them through tough times. Words can't express how humbled I was, knowing that what I do that makes me happy can make such a huge impact in someone else's life, especially saving them from their despair. I feel as if this may be my calling, helping and sharing with others my happiness through what I write. Having the confidence to connect with and inspire others is irreplaceable. Of course, it's not without its problems. There are times where those who read my stories ridicule and even downright insult me on a personal level, which lowered my confidence significantly. Even the constructive criticisms sting a lot. Sometimes those constructive criticisms felt too much for me to handle, and I never listened, and I played to my own tune, but it still made it worse. A former co-author of mine online then told me that I really needed to take their criticisms into consideration and listen to them. Now, does that mean I had to pander to those criticisms? No, of course not. But it taught me how I needed to be more considerate of others to what they suggest in order to help me become a better writer. To this day, it's still difficult for me to balance my consideration for others and my own wants and desires. Thank you so much for listening to my story, Dan and Eric. I hope one day we can meet in person to personally thank you for everything you've done for Yu-Gi-Oh! And how it will forever remain a part of my childhood. P.S. My nephew Billy thinks that Kaiba is the greatest character to have ever graced television in 20-plus years.
Well.
Ha ha ha.
Wow.
So yeah, taking criticism, working with it, especially with you're working with stuff that you're very passionate about, that you take very personally. It's not easy.
It's not. And as someone who I primarily write alone, but I do have people that I bounce some ideas off of, and you and I have collaborated on many things.
Absolutely. When we were developing the script for, I was writing the script for Crossing the Gods, but you and Tony were my sounding boards.
Right.
Yeah.
And the way that these relationships work, especially with constructive criticism, is you have to remember what person it's coming from. So if the person you're trying to get feedback from has sort of different motives, you might be defensive. But if you truly trust that other person and are asking them for their opinion, not just for positive feedback, which I've experienced people coming to me and saying, hey, I wrote the song. Can you tell me what you think of it? And I will actually say, do you want to know what I think of it, or do you just want to share it with me to enjoy? Because if you're asking me for feedback, that's a different way I'm going to listen than just as a listener. And in your case here, where Christopher is talking about the pushback from the criticism of the co-author, then either that's not a person that they should be collaborating with because there is a defensive mechanism in place and the trust is not there, or your walls are so built up so high that you're not looking for any sort of creative feedback or constructive criticism. And that's something that is a tough place to be. You have to learn, and you can then make your choices based on the knowledge. So you could get an opinion from someone that you trust and you think is successful and an example of what you would like to be. And you could take that information and say, I disagree. It's okay too. But at least understand and listen to what is being told to you so that you can at least take that information and weigh it, whether it's going to work for what you're doing or not. When you were writing Crossing the Gods, you had a story in your head. All Tony and I were really doing was being the sounding board of, can we understand what's in your head, and not necessarily pushing back on creative choices, but just how are you explaining your creativity? How are you explaining?
Is it coming across?
Yes, because we are not in your head.
Right.
But
thank God you don't want to live there.
No, but the trust level is there. You and I have a trust level in terms of our approach to anything that we're collaborating on, and I think that Christopher, which might be a helpful thing for Christopher, is if you're going to pursue writing and you're going to put your work out there, you can either decide, I don't really care what anyone wants to tell me. That's fine too. Or if you are looking for truly constructive criticism, find the people that you have that trust with and keep them close and work with them.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that you know intimately.
True.
But just somebody you can trust, where you don't feel like there's other motives or anything else going on, which may poison what it is that's being said.
Yeah.
And I would also encourage Christopher to allow yourself to be made uncomfortable in constructive ways. So when I was studying acting, it was very common when somebody was giving a performance and then getting feedback afterward for them to be defensive or to try to debate the criticisms. And that's just normal human behavior. There's very few things that make you feel as vulnerable and naked as acting. And that's something that you learn to get over. That's something that you can learn to not get in your way so that you can hear what can potentially really take you further in not just that particular, for example, scene that you're trying to do in acting or story that you may be writing, but more generally, you can apply that sensibility to being open to how things get made and how useful other people's perspectives can be while still remaining true to the creative spark within you.
Yes, and there are many, many examples of art that in the beginning, they were told it's not good, it's a dumb idea, whatever. And then once it's out there, oh, it's fantastic, it's wonderful, people love it, it's great, it's the greatest thing ever. So, I think people have a tendency to want to voice their opinion on whatever they're presented with. You go to a movie, we walk out, and all of a sudden we're Siskel and Ebert. I mean, that's just to date myself with an older.
I was going to say, I don't know if that still rings,
but it's
movie
like
critics,
we always have to voice our opinion, even when we're not asked. So you put out some writing online, well, you might get a lot of people that say they love it, which is fantastic, but you're also going to get people that say, You know what I would have done differently? Well, that's the way you would have done it. And I didn't ask. So, I mean, there's that too. If you're asking, be prepared for criticism. If you're not asking, then make your decision whether you're going to ignore it or you're going to let it bother you. So,
yeah. And it's okay to occasionally just want affirmation.
That's true too. That's true too. Okay. This one's for me, right? So this next one is from Jovan. And the subject is sharing a Yu-Gi-Oh story. Hello to both Mr. Dan Green and Eric Stewart. My name is Jovan, and I come from the Republic of Serbia in southeastern Europe, and I am 17 years old. I definitely have a Yu-Gi-Oh story to share. This story goes like this. It was the end of the year 2017, and I have had a rough time in school, being bullied, etc. And I have watched Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds for the first time in English, and I have watched all 3 seasons of it, and it helped me a lot. Sincerely from a Serbian Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, Jovan. P.S. Good luck with your podcast. Wow, that's really cool.
We just had Greg on. Yeah.
Right? I love the fact that, not every country speaks English, so the fact that you would want to watch the English dub in a country that is not necessarily English is not the first language is very flattering. We experienced some of that feedback when we were appearing in London, and there was a huge.
I love that the guys from the Middle East.
Yeah,
I was like, they listen to the English there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and that's true. We just did. We had Greg on, the star of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, so that's very cool. Yeah, I know we were both. You and I both played some smaller parts in that story arc of 5Ds. But I'm glad that story arc also helped you and inspired you. And once again, I'm sorry that the common comment is that you were also bullied. This it's really very unfortunate that that's all too common part of our fandom as well. So I'm very sorry, but I'm also glad that you got through that. And that you also enjoyed the shows. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jovan. You speak for a lot of people. And the next letter we have, which will be the final letter for this episode, comes from Jordan, and it's entitled Underrated Moments. Hi, guys. My name is Jory. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been a massive part of my life ever since the day I came home from kindergarten and saw Yami blowing away Great Moth. It's helped me make friends, fond memories, and great experiences that will last me for my entire lifetime. I know the dubs have gotten flack here and there, but I really do appreciate both of your performances, as well as everyone else's during their time at 4Kids. I could always come back and watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Again if I was feeling down. My question for you both, and to anyone else who's voiced in the series who wants to chime in, well, it's just going to be Eric and I for today.
That's right.
What's your favorite underrated line that you've done for your respective characters that you can remember? We've all heard Exodia Obliterate and White Lightning, etc., but I was wondering what lines you remember doing that you remember that aren't as iconic. For Dan's portrayal of Yugi/Yami, it would be when Yami was throwing great one-liners the entire time he had Berserker attacking Weevil over and over again. You'll pay dearly. This just isn't your day, etc. For Eric's portrayal of Kaiba, it would be when he yelled at Yami over the phone for losing to Raphael, especially when he said, "Yugi lost." That was the first time I'd ever heard Kaiba lose his composure that hard, and it always stuck with me. Much love to both of you and the entire crew, especially to Wayne Grayson. Oh, I love Wayne. He's one of the reasons Joey's my favorite character. Well chosen. All right, well... Jory, thank you for that. I have one line I remember that isn't, the line that people say, hey, can you record this for me? Can you, do this line at a convention? Do you have something in mind, Eric?
I do, but I'll let you go first.
Okay. So, I have two.
Of course you do, because there's two personalities.
There's two. There's a line for each one.
Yes.
So the first one is from Yami. I forget which episode it was, but it was early on. It was like in the first season, and this very aggressive bully-like opponent is getting in Yugi/Yami's face, but Yami has taken over at that point. And they're talking about, having this contest about, doing a duel, right? And the line on the page was Yami confidently saying, there was some suggestion that Yami wasn't going to win. And so Yami is to confidently say, "Oh, I'll beat you all right," meaning I'll win this match. But the way I chose to perform it was you couldn't tell whether Yami meant beat him in the round
right.
or just beat him up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll beat you all right.
Yes. Very good.
Now you do yours, and I'll do you.
Yes. Well, I definitely was lucky that the writers, especially early on, were focused on giving me some great little one-liners.
Yeah.
But this is one that the fans have started to ask me to say, and to also whether I sign and add it to one of my Kaiba pops or my Blue Eyes White Dragon pops. But I always loved "You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck." And the reason I love that so much is because for a second you're like, is that a compliment? Like, is there anything about that that's positive? But in classic Kaiba-esque, delivery, it's that almost like a backhanded compliment. And it's great. Anytime you include math, in a quip, it's always good. It's like third rate. Wait, is that good? No, fourth rate. Oh, wait, that's bad. Yeah,
they have to calculate.
Yes.
It. Yeah. It's very funny.
Yeah.
And you have been throwing that around a lot lately. I indirectly quoted you saying that on social media.
There you go.
Well, the other one, you can help me remember this more precisely. It was again early on, and the group of friends, they were at a campfire and they needed to make some dinner, right?
Yeah.
And of course Joey. But this is also appropriate for our fan, for Jordan, who wrote in, or Jory, I guess, as he likes to be called, because Joey's his favorite character. So Joey's like, gonna, take charge, and don't worry about it. I can handle it. And there wasn't enough dialogue written. And you were directing, and you felt the need to fill in some dialogue off camera, just to fill up the space. And so you said, "Okay, Dan, I don't know, just wing it."
Joey, I don't think you should cook the candy bars. Shut up! I know what I'm doing.
Just go with something. Wayne already came in and said this, so just respond to Joey. And Joey said something like, "Oh yeah, I got it. I can handle this," and maybe something about like warming up or getting the campfire started or whatever. And so then I had Yugi say, "Joey, I don't think you're supposed to cook the candy bars."
Yes. Yes. See, we were,
it's a lost moment. It means nothing, but I
love
had
it.
Fun.
Wow. I actually remember the scene. I can visualize the scene.
Yes, me too.
Oh, wow.
It's at night. It's getting dark.
Well, see, that's also the fun part about knowing these characters so well. I mean, yes, being the director, I had a little bit more freedom to be able to let us do those things. But the actors all really, by that time, we all really knew our characters so well. Yeah. Could we ad lib? I mean, I don't know about you, but at least at the conventions when people ask me to do a voice recording for them, I basically just say, "Who am I talking about? Am I being friendly or am I insulting them? Whatever." Yeah. And they're like, "Well, what I'd love you to say is," and I'm like, "No. You don't have to. I don't need the exact line. Just give me the energy of what you want me to convey, and I'll do something." And it's because, I can ad lib as Kaiba, you can ad lib as Yugi and Yami easily. So throwing that little one-liner in there, that's hilarious and very Yugi.
a gentle
way of going.
Not even a criticism, just
I don't know
about that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. You're a knucklehead, but I'm not going to be mean. Yes. Fantastic. Love it.
Jory, thank you for that letter. And thanks to everyone who wrote in. If you would like to be a part of this conversation, all you have to do is go to AndromedaProductions.com and you will find a place to enter your letter on our website. If you go to the part where it's for the Heart of the Cards, because there's another part that's for Crossing the Gods, you'll see that you can write a letter of apparently almost any length, and we will definitely keep on doing these letter episodes. We love having you be a part of the conversation, and we are so grateful that people are listening, and not just that they're following the podcast, but it seems like they're actually really listening to things that we're saying, and of course that's a wonderful experience to be a part of. Eric, did you have any closing thoughts or responses before we end this?
Yeah, I just want to say once again, Happy New Year to everyone. And
yes,
and let's make 2023 a better year, a peaceful year, a creative year. It's wonderful that these letters are all telling us that, yes, they're listening, but they're also finding ways to follow their passion and staying creative. Without art, we don't have life. So keep that up, and thank you again for listening to our podcast.
Very well said. And with that, we'll bring this episode of The Heart of the Cards to a close, but join us next time for our continuing conversation about creativity, inspiration, and dealing with what you're dealt.
On the expert difficulty.
Thanks for listening to The Heart of the Cards with Dan Green and Eric Stewart. We hope this conversation in some way spoke to you. Whatever your journey, we look forward to crossing paths again in the next episode. This is Veronica Taylor, and on behalf of Andromeda Productions, we wish you well.
All right, well, that was the Heart of the Cards podcast with Dan Green and Eric Stewart. By the way, so GDQ is taking place right now. Sakurai went ahead and added that already, no worries. I'm going to be watching Games Done Quick, so I'll provide a link in the description if you want to watch along with me. I'm going to have this on in the background. They're about to speedrun Cuphead. So I'll mute my desktop audio. Have this open.
Today we will be playing as Mugman. Alrighty, Mugman, the true hero of the story in my opinion, and my personal favorite. So I'm glad you guys voted for Mugman, so you pulled through here. And also, I hope you're all fans of lame puns and bad jokes. There's going to be plenty of them during this run. We are going to have a wonderful time, right, Sublime?
Oh my goodness, you're already getting started with that, I see.
Already
yes, I will try my
and
best.
Also, if you have donations to send in with your best puns too. Maybe a teacher will be able to read them live on stream. So with that being said, we are going to start the run in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
So the beginning of the run, thank you. Beginning of the run, we're going to go skip a couple of these intro cutscenes because we're trying to go fast here. We are going to talk to Elder Kettle. He's going to go give us a little potion and tell us to get going, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go into the tutorial right here. And we're not going to the tutorial because we don't know how to play the game. We're going to do the tutorial because there is a coin in the tutorial which will which will be part of the game, since we have to go collect all the coins as well. So once we collect that, we're going back to the world map here. We're going to go and talk to this apple guy over here to get 3 more coins, and we're going to go into the first of 6 run and gun levels, Forest Follies, which is coming up in just a moment here.
This is a very optimized level. There's so many runs that get to this point since it's right at the beginning, so the strats for this are very tight.
Yep, and here we go. You'll notice some recurring tech that we use in this run. With the dashes, there's a little jump that we do after each dash, and that resets the cooldown and allows you to dash again a little bit sooner than you'd be able to otherwise. And it doesn't save that much time on an individual level basis, but over the course of a run, it saves quite a few seconds. And we're going to try to do a trick here to get over this machine.
Nice.
Yeah, okay, so we just damage boosted over that. And even though we're past that, we are not quite out of the woods yet.
Oh.
But there we go.
Nice.
So you're done with that level now.
That was good.
So we got the 5 points from that, and we're actually going to go straight to Mausoleum 1 because you need to complete the first Mausoleum of the game in order to unlock the DLC Isle. And the Mausoleum is where you first get introduced to Miss Chalice. But the Mausoleum itself is kind of like an auto-scroller. There's not a whole lot of action going on. So if you do have any donations to Rated Tea Tree, now would be the perfect time. We have probably about a minute and a half or so until the next part of the run.
My pleasure. We've got $50 from Anonymous, who chipped in to help us get to this run and says 300%. I don't know what that means, but I like it. I am loving it so far myself. Thank you, Anonymous. $50 from Sir Dan 1987, who says the wizards and warriors have assembled for a speedrunning event to defeat the ultimate bad known as cancer. Let's assemble our skills and strengths to defeat cancer. I love where your head's at, Sir Dan. Thank you very much for your generosity. Jason LaRose sends in $1,000 and says, $1,000 donation train? Choo-choo! Jeez, thank you. Yes, it is amazing to see the generosity of our wonderful viewers. Thank you so much, everyone. Lord Mikota sends in $25 to Prevent Cancer Foundation, says, been watching for so many years and I love to see things evolve. This community is too amazing and I can't wait for all the insane spoon runs. Keep on kicking it. Let's save the animals and mock the humans. Decisive. We'll see what we can do with that for you, Lord Mikota. Thank you. Zakir seemed like they were interested in one of our candle prizes, sending in $5 and saying, delicious Wumpa candle. Won't eat, honest. Please don't eat any Wumpa or banana candles. Thank you. This is your official PSA on that.
All right, so we are entering the DLC aisle right now. Just a little background of the story. You meet Miss Chalice. She's a ghost. She wants to become alive again. She introduces you to a wonderful, nice little chef named Chef Saltbaker. He gives you something known as the Astral Cookie, which will allow you to play as Miss Chalice on an individual level basis, but the only way for her to become human is for you to collect the ingredients from enemies around the island so you can make what's known as the Wonder Tart. That's your goal for the DLC aisle. So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're, in the meantime, just collecting some coins. We're going to go into something called the King's Leap right here, which is basically the DLC equivalent of the run and guns. It's how you obtain coins. And you'll notice very quickly it's chess themed. You'll play against a bunch of bosses here that are all based off of chess pieces. Up first we have the pawns, and just like in a real game of chess, there are a lot of pawns here. And we will take this one step at a time. Now, not really intended for you to be able to go up here, but because of Chalice's movement abilities, we were able to just hop right on up here and take out a bunch of pawns at once. You're a little at the mercy of RNG there at the end. And you need some pretty good reaction time for these chess fights because you don't want to get stuck the queen or rook in a hard place, right?
You can get them all really early in one go, but it's a pretty tall order.
Yeah, it's RNG dependent as well. And I didn't mention it yet, but you'll notice that we're not firing any weapons, or we're not using our guns at all on these fights, and that's because, you know, the old saying goes, you should never bring a gun to the night fight. So that's what we're doing right now. We're fighting the knight here. But yeah, you can only use your parry to attack these bosses. And we're just able to take the knight down quickly there. He takes 20 hits, and if you play this as Cuphead, since his parry is a lot different than Miss Chalice's, it often takes a lot more time.
I will say, with all those parries, you really knocked out his knight light.
T3 getting in on it. Up next we have the bishop here. Do you know why bishops only move diagonally in chess?
No, why do they only move diagonally?
Because north, south, east, and west are cardinal positions.
You have to parry a lot here in this level. Sometimes it feels like it never comes to an end.
I think only the chess fans are going to understand that one. Let's see. Oh yeah, so if you haven't noticed already, we have to go, to make this boss vulnerable, we need to put out all these candles. And there we go. Take him out. Down to 1 HP. It was a little tricky, but, or a little tricky there, but we got through it, no problem. And you'll notice after each of these fights, I'm also retrying. Normally there's an animation where you see Mugman collecting the coins, but we're able to skip that animation and still obtain the coins. It saves a couple seconds each time. This fight's pretty straightforward, as long as I don't make any rookie mistakes here. It's the rook fight. But yeah, because of this Chalice's double jump ability, you're able to basically just fly in the air while you parry these.
Yeah, Miss Chalice is extremely good at the King's Leap. With the every time you get a parry, you get a dash reset and a jump reset, and it just is a huge difference, especially in this level.
Should be enough. There we go. Okay. Oof. And then already coming up, we have the final boss of the King's Leap, which As you would probably guess, it's the queen, the most powerful boss in chess. And the most powerful boss in the King's League here. We have to go fire these little cannons at her. It's actually is a little bit tricky because she's a little unpredictable. She moves back and forth. Sometimes she stops at random. You have to dodge his projectiles as well.
This one has a really high skill ceiling because it's really hard to aim the cannon correctly every time.
Yeah, I missed them 2 or 3 there, but still finished it pretty quickly. But okay, that does it for the King's League. We've already collected basically all the coins in the DLC. We're gonna just exit the map really quick here to skip another animation. There is a little puzzle that's coming up here, so it actually randomizes each time you start the game. So I'm going to have to talk to these guys really quick. Let's see, up right, left down, down right, up right, left down, down right. Right. So 9, 1, 3. Okay, I gotta go to the shop really quick and buy a few things here. We're gonna buy the broken relic and we're gonna buy some weapons here. We'll get into the mechanics of the relic later. Yeah, we're gonna do some quick equipping here. Okay. You can luckily menu while Porkrind is telling you how to equip items, so that saves a little bit of time here. We're gonna get a hidden coin that's behind the bakery, and that actually does it for all the coins in the DLC. Now we just have to complete all the bosses. So we're gonna go dive down here and fight the secret boss. So we have to interact with these gravestones in the same order of those people that we talked to earlier mentioned. And then Bugman's gonna take a little nap here, and he has a nightmare. So we are going to have to fight this, which I believe is actually a cut phase from the original devil fight in the base game. If you look up old beta footage for the game, you actually see a fight that's very similar to this. And I thought it was really cool they decided to bring it back for the DLC. It's actually very difficult. You can only hurt the boss whenever you're facing him. So we're going to try to make quick work of it here. There we go.
Nice.
Nice and smooth. And doing that fight actually turns the broken relic into the cursed relic. And the cursed relic, as part of completing the game, it adds percentage to your file for you to uncurse the cursed relic. And to uncurse the cursed relic, you need to do a certain amount of battles with the cursed relic equipped, which will give you a bunch of negative effects. We're not doing any of the battles with the cursed relic just yet, but once we do, we'll explain a little bit further as to what that entails, because it does make some of the fights quite a bit harder. But first, we have the Howling Aces, which are a bunch of aerial dogs right here that we're facing, and they're going to give me a rough time.
And unfortunately, they have a bone to pick with us.
Oh. All right, that was a pretty good face. Okay.
I mean, not that you didn't know, but Chad is absolutely howling right now.
Nice. Now, this is a really cool mechanic. The first time I saw this, it really got me. It threw me for a loop here because the game actually physically changes the direction that you're facing, and now we're upside down. And when I used to do that part, I had to physically turn my head to figure out what's going on. I'm finally used to it now, 6 months later. But geez, that was a pretty tricky to get used to it for some really cool game mechanic.
Yeah, that was probably the trickiest one for me out of the 5 at the beginning of the DLC.
Yeah. And coming up next, the next boss we're going to be facing is Mortimer Freeze, and I guess there's plenty that we could say about this guy, but I just hope we have a nice fight.
I guess just gotta mention the second phase is pretty scary. You gotta make sure it doesn't snowball out of control.
In my first time playing through the DLC, though, this is definitely the boss that I struggle with the most, I would say. There's definitely a lot of pretty tricky parts of this. A lot of stuff to dodge.
Not gonna lie, it really seems like he's got no chill.
Yeah, this guy is not chill at all.
This is where the fight gets a little flaky.
Yeah.
Nice.
Luckily, this boss himself, the head does not have a hurt box, so you can actually go directly on top of him and shoot these spready X's for massive damage. We're able to finish that fight off pretty quickly.
also, so some of the advantages that Miss Chalice gives for a run through of the game, even for the base game bosses, she has the double jump, and the double jump lets you hit more of your shots on higher hitboxes, and it allows you to set up bigger traps with weapons, like when you know that something's going to come on screen. And she also has the dash and jump resets, and she has an invincibility roll, and she has an extra HP. So there's like a lot of reasons to just get her immediately and use her for the base game if you're forced to get all the content in the game.
And hope nobody here has P5 phobia, because we're facing Glumstone the Giant.
Yeah, this boss can be a giant problem if you're not careful.
Yeah, this first phase is really, really tricky, actually, because there's just so many things going on, and the platform's missing, and then there's a really cool surprise in store for final phase, and there's a really cool glitch that we can do here as well. That's some of you may think it's reminiscent of Donkey Kong Country. You'll see what I mean whenever we get there, assuming I'm able to do it properly.
Yeah, it's really cool looking.
Okay. We're moving to the final phase now.
This is definitely one of the hardest fights for the DLC.
Yeah, so we set up an infinite dash roll in the air here. It's a little tricky. But I still have to dodge some projectiles here, because if they hit me, it's still tough. But right now, this boss also does not have a hurt box on his face. We're able to do this infinite dash roll while shooting, while we're over his hitbox, and that just saves us a lot of times that we're able to hit consistent damage right there.
Nice.
And as we beat the giant, we just reached a Brobdingnasian milestone, $100,000 raised for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. Thank you so much to everyone.
That's crazy. It's been less than 8 hours. That's awesome. Whew. And coming up, we have Moonshine Mob. This is just a group of mobster bugs. And yeah, I guess I like to think that this first guy might have got turned to a life of crime prematurely. He might have wanted to be a web designer before he fell in with the wrong crowd.
It looks like Miss Chalice may have been a pretty good debugger too before she started all this.
I think there was another fight as well that was originally supposed to be in the original game, and then ended up getting scrapped a little bit.
Wait, really? That's cool.
Save time. Yeah, I think that was originally supposed to be like one of the King Dice mini bosses, maybe. But just that second phase right there, and they ended up integrating it into the DLC, which is another really cool thing. I do have a. Speaking of anteaters here, since there's an anteater right there, I do have a good anteater joke if you guys want to hear it. So an anteater walks into a bar, and the bartender asks him, "Can I get you something to drink?" And the anteater says, "No." And then the bartender asks, "Well, can I get you something to eat?" And the anteater again says, "No." So then the bartender asks him, "What's with the long nose?" And he says, "I was born with it." That'd been too much fun. But we have coming up here Esther Winchester, the one and only plane fight of the DLC. There's quite a few in the base game. You'll notice the mechanics here are a little bit different. It's actually first base is pretty tricky. Probably can't talk for a little bit. You want to go talk about the mechanics a little bit?
Yeah, the Miss Chalice has like higher DPS with just her main shooting like without the EX. And with the EX, it depends on the fight that you're in. But here we have 1 extra HP. We can damage boost a little bit better. We have the very good just base DPS from the gun she has, and using nukes is pretty effective. We can go right up like into the face of this boss and use our HP to just try and damage boost and do as much damage as possible. And
stakes are a little high. This one, gotta be careful.
Especially with 1 HP.
Took it down
nice
there.
try.
That's rough. This is a very rough fight, especially if you're trying to do it quickly. I guess I need to move a little faster.
Yeah, Jason gives me a lot of helpful tips for the cow, but unfortunately they seem to go in one ear and out the other.
safety. Every time you use a nuke as well, you get some iframes afterward, which could help you out of a jam if you were just in a situation where you're going to get hit and you happen to have a nuke stored. Definitely is helpful to know, even in casual playthrough.
Yeah. Nice, still at 4 HP. Very good.
Yeah. Find it a little safer this time after a little mishap last time with these flying stakes.
Taking advantage of the small space between the boss and where these attacks come out.
Yeah, when you think of the progression of this fight's kind of disturbing. We started out fighting a cow, and now we're fighting just some sausage links here, or some sort of hot dogs, or you know.
Well, as long as it's all kosher.
It does say 100% beef sausages on the little box right there. So okay, we got all the ingredients. We defeated all the bosses on the DLC aisles. So now it's just a matter of walking back over to Chef Saltbaker, and you'll just make that Wonder Tart from Miss Chalice, and everything will be well, right? That's got to be
exactly.
There's probably not going to be any twists or anything, right?
I mean, I haven't played the DLC, but I have no reason to expect that anything isn't on the level.
Yeah. It'll just be very simple here. And the ingredients of Miss Chalice will just be alive again and no problems. So Chef Saltbaker's not here, but has a little hatch open to this dungeon. And apparently, Chef Saltbaker is evil in a Disney-esque twist. We find out that Chef Saltbaker actually was using the time we were distracted to kidnap Mugman. So now Miss Chalice has to save him. It's actually a very difficult phase. Probably the hardest phase, single phase in the DLC.
Yeah, there's so much on the screen to dodge here, especially on an expert.
Alright, moving into this phase 2 right here. Chef Saltbaker, a little homage to Mario there. He put a mushroom inside of his hat, or he ate a mushroom there, and now he's gigantic. Happened so quickly, I didn't even catch that the first couple times I played through this. I do have a chef joke sublime. Do you have any chef jokes? I have a good.
What is your chef joke?
How many chefs does it take to bake a pie?
How many?
3.14.
Oh, no.
No, that joke was a little underdone.
Oh. Okay. We got 1 HP going in the final phase here. I gotta buckle down and concentrate here a little. Gotta put my chef's hat on. All right.
Nice.
Got the knockout.
GG.
And that actually does complete the DLC. Now we're going to be leaving the DLC and going back to Aisle 1, starting the base game itself. We have probably a good 30 or 40 seconds before the next fight starts. And teacher, if you have any donations that you want to read real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to let you know that the next bonus game incentive is open. That is Portal at $80,000. We are already well on our way. People are rushing us there like Josh and Caitlin, sending in $50 and saying the best part of January is watching GDQ. Love you all. And Ogeron donates $50 to PCF and says, happy GDQ week and looking forward to all the runs this week. Fortunate to donate more than usual this year. Good luck, runners. And Sandman, also with $50, who says, good luck to all the runners and giving a shout out to the announcers. Thank you so much to all of you.
All right, thank you guys. Now, up next, these guys are in for a Root Awakening. This is the Root Pack. We're going to take down this potato right here. There's actually a secret phase on this boss we're going to utilize. Normally, you fight the onion that starts crying, but apparently, if you just don't shoot the onion at all, or at least don't shoot him for a while, he just goes away. And then the phase is over. We are going to do a little bit of damage here after the secret phase is triggered. And this does make a radish appear out of the ground at the end here, which makes the final phase a little trickier, but the fact that we're able to skip the second phase ends up making the fight a little bit shorter.
I just have to say, in terms of boss design, the carrot really is outstanding in its field.
These puns are dirty.
You guys are too much. I wasn't expecting this. I thought I'd be like the only pun thrower in the chat right here.
I mean, the category said 300%, so I assumed that meant the amount of puns we had to fit in here.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And now these guys are going to be pretty unpoppy when I'm done with them. This is Ruby and Curves. And on Expert, the first phase is a lot more difficult because both of them attack simultaneously as opposed to regular where they take turns attacking. Go try to finish them off as quickly as possible here.
I'm not sure why they're so mad. Maybe their car got towed.
Looks like they're wearing new shoes though. Are those open toed?
It's a great run so far too.
Thanks.
The gameplay is riveting.
What do you think they're all drinking in the back? Some tall glasses of Coca-Cola?
Oh my goodness, I was not ready for that one.
Unfortunately, I saw that one coming.
Nice.
Pretty quickly. Luckily, we saved a bunch of HP for the final phase, so we get damage boost and shoot some spready X's there and have that get done pretty quickly. Coming up next, we have Goofy Legrand, which for a lot of people, this might even be your first Cuphead boss that you face, because when you first started the game, you could either go to Root Pack first or go to Goofy Legrand first, and where you can take care of Goofy now. But now that we have all these DLC items, all these like late game, like Miss Chalice and Charge Shot and Spread, we're gonna beat this boss pretty quickly.
Yeah, and just to act as the voice of chat for a little bit, you just mentioned it, but a lot of people have been asking why are we Miss Chalice right now, and it's because she has additional abilities that make her faster through all this content.
Yep.
Yeah, she has the extra HP, she has a double jump, so you can get hitboxes easier. She has a jump and dash reset if you get a parry. He's really, really good. And like the dash roll, like the invincible roll on the
if you hold
ground.
down and dash as Miss Chalice, she does a dodge roll where you're temporarily invincible while you're doing some really cool.
Pretty much the only bad thing is that she takes up a charm slot, but for this run, since we go to the DLC right at the beginning, and the charm for Miss Chalice is free and it's just given to you, it is super optimal to just grab her, and she would be the strongest out of all the charms anyways, but it's just very convenient at the beginning of the run.
Mm-hmm. And this run's flying by right here. I guess if they say slime flies when you're having fun. We're actually going to equip, this is going to be the first fight where we equip the Cursed Relic. Since we do need to fight some bosses with this to uncurse it.
Yeah.
And our bosses of choice are going to be the base game plain bosses, plus we'll face one non-plain boss later. But the Cursed Relic will start you out with 1 HP in a fight, and will also randomize your weapons whenever you shoot an EX or whenever you attempt to swap weapons. Now, luckily, the reason we're doing these on plain levels is because the plain levels themselves are you gotta dodge a little bit.
You only have two weapons in plain
yeah,
levels. So since the weapon is randomized whenever you stop shooting, since there's only 2 weapons, you know exactly what weapon you're gonna get. So there are some benefits of using the Cursed Relic on plain levels, especially since we don't even have the plain bombs on this file yet. You get them in aisle 2. But with the Cursed Relic, you roll randomly through all the weapons in the game, even the ones that you don't own. So even though it's a bit scary with 1 HP, it's very optimal to go for the plain levels to upgrade this. Nice.
And now, it also somewhat randomizes your charms whenever you have the Cursed Relic equipped. So there's a charm called the Parry Ring, which will occasionally give you a heart for parrying. So every once in a while, it's pretty infrequent when you first get the Cursed Relic, but as you start fighting bosses with it, the relic gets gradually less cursed. So you're able to get hearts for parrying things more frequently. There's a little bit of a reason to it, but it seems like it's random at first. It's just every so often, every so many parries will be one that counts toward that. They were able to complete that boss. We actually have more HP than when we started because we were able to take 1 more HP during the fight.
Nice.
Yeah, I wanted to come up with some good Hildeberg puns, but I forgot. I had a feeling it would have flown over your head.
Oh my goodness.
And we're actually going to put Miss Chalice back on here to do the second run of the run, Treetop Trouble. We do have to complete all 6 run and guns throughout the course of this run. So Miss Chalice will allow us to get through these pretty quickly. Her dash roll comes in very handy for getting past these woodpeckers because you can just roll under them instead of having to wait for damage boost through them.
And her double jump lets you skip a lot of sections. You can also, if you're in the air long enough, you actually just get a dash reset for free. You don't have to parry anything. So you can stay in the air for a long time with Miss Chalice, and for the platforming levels in this game, she is extremely strong. They weren't made when she was in the game, and I think her design like excels in those. So it's going to be very, very helpful to use her in these.
Yeah, especially that mini boss. Like it's been known that you can jump over that mini boss to skip it completely, but it's kind of a tight jump whenever you're playing as Cuphead or Mugman. But with Miss Chalice, it's trivially easy just because you can jump higher with the double jump.
Sheesh, I thought I would have time for some donations in that level. Before I knew it, you were already leaving.
Now the final boss of Isle 1, we have Cagny Carnation, who I consider to be one of the most recognizable Cuphead bosses. There were images of this guy even way back when the game was first announced, long before it was released. So pretty iconic boss. Got some sick moves also. This first phase gets a little crazy on expert though. So we have to
That was character number 69 I just finished.
Nice. This section of the fight as quickly as possible.
I'm trying to finish up to
he will keep shooting until you do enough
at least
damage.
these next batch.
So
We'll see.
you're just gonna get a bunch of seeds. It's like a really, really crazy bullet hell if you don't get it under control.
Yeah.
Still 3 HP, so it's pretty comfy.
Yeah.
Really? Looks kind of thorny to me.
Alright. So that does it for Isle 1. We just have to go back. There was an NPC just to the left of this level that was originally blocking a coin, but once you complete all the bosses on the first Isle, you're able to grab that coin. So we're going to go just double back shortly just to go grab that, and then we'll head into Isle 2. You have a short period of time here, maybe like 10 or 20 seconds if you want to get a quick donation in.
Absolutely, I have just the one. We have $5,000 from Fangamer, who says, "Hey everybody, Fangamer here. We are excited to be back once again as a sponsor for AGDQ 2023. We're ready for another week of non-stop speedruns for a great cause. The Fangamer AGDQ 2023 collection features 10 brand new items, along with returning favorites, and the best part is 100% of the profit from GDQ merch sales through the end of AGDQ supports Prevent Cancer Foundation with donations like this one. You can find the full lineup at fangamer.com/GDQ.
Alright, so this boss has quite a bit of RNG to it. There's actually potentially 5 different mini bosses that you can send out here before you have to fight her, and you only have to fight 3 of them. So depending on which mini bosses you get, they have different amounts of HP, and some of them are more difficult than others. So there is a bit of an RNG factor here. Hopefully we don't get the Jawbreaker here. Okay, Jawbreaker's just very easy but very long death animation.
Yeah.
Now we fight there, Mr. Soft. And we're just gonna stand here and jump a lot and try not to get eaten by her house here. And that was quick.
Nice.
That fight was short and sweet. And we do have another run and gun coming up here as well, Bunker Fever, which some of you may hear the music, and it's very reminiscent of the athletic theme in Super Mario World. It's definitely some inspiration there. It's one of the best music tracks in the game, in my opinion. We'll go to that shortly here, and you'll see what I mean.
Using Miss Chalice here again, there's a couple of spots where you can double jump and just stay in the air with your dashes and skip some areas. And it also helps out a lot with the hot dog if you're out of HP at the end.
Oh yeah.
A couple, you said? Did you do that on purpose? Oh, maybe I'm just hearing puns where they aren't there. What do you say? Time for any donations?
Yeah, we could get a donation here, that's fine.
Certainly. Amadi1966 donates $25 to PCF and says, What do you get when you cross a sponge with an electric eel? A shock absorber. Hopefully this donation battles cancer better than it creates laughs.
Thank you for that.
This is for that level, yeah. As you see, that end section was incredibly quick, especially with the damage boosting that you can do with the extra HP that Miss Chalice gets. Moving forward here, we have another Cursed Relic fight here. We're going to equip the Cursed Relic to fight Wally Werewolves. And yeah, like the plane levels, man, they're fast to do with the Cursed Relic, but they are terrifying.
Yeah, on expert, Wally's egg attacks are no joke, and I think it's safe to say they can't be ignored.
Hopefully this fight goes exactly as planned.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, we got an extra HP, so we got a little bit of breathing room.
The egg attacks take up the back wall on expert. It's very hard. It's a big difference.
Yeah, there's not much space to be safe.
Up to 2 HP now. This is looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, we got 3 HP
Nice.
now, so even better. We do a little pause buffer there because it actually loads the final phase in faster. Not exactly sure why, but
Yeah,
it was discovered a long time ago. Pretty cool mechanic. We're gonna take a damage boost here because
Nice.
we can get into position to shoot these those missile EXs there. They do a lot of damage since Wally has such a long hitbox at the end there. Up next, we're going to take what looks like an inefficient route through the island, but it's actually required to get a hidden coin from one of the NPCs on this isle. So we're going to take a shortcut here behind the mountain, and we're going to go face off against Grim Matchstick. Yeah, we have to take the long route here, just so we can double back and get a coin. Now, somebody that may know this fight from regular mode will notice one key difference between regular and expert on this fight, and that's that the clouds are moving in the opposite direction, which, in my opinion, makes the first phase much harder since you're getting dragged toward him instead of away from him. I wasn't even trying to make a pun there when I heard it after it came out. Yeah,
I thought you were just waiting for me to notice that one.
No.
Using spread here can be really tricky. You have to get really close to him, and you can't just guess what position you need to be in. You need to make sure you're not winging it at all.
Was the winging it a pun? Dragon said wings?
I tried my best.
Okay.
Hitting like an invisible little hitbox here, that transition is still vulnerable, but you have to know where the hitbox is forming. It's a little arbitrary, but if you practice it, you can get some extra damage there. Going in for the damage boost, using Spread EX, where you're inside a sprite, is extremely strong, and using Miss Chalice's 4 HP there it makes that much comfier.
I just want that fight to drag on that long.
There it is. I remember from the last time we did this run together that that damage boost was milliseconds away from going the wrong direction on you.
That was intense. I got it close, that's for sure.
You almost got toasted.
Yeah. Right there, we talked to that guy. He gives you a coin as long as you've had 4 consecutive parries at some point during the run, which we basically, once you go through the King's League as Miss Chalice, it's basically a given that you get that. You don't even have to consciously do that because you're just juggling parries for that entire fight. I'm going around, this is actually my personal favorite run and gun, just because it has this really cool upside down mechanic, which we didn't see again until the DLC with that Howling Aces fight. But yeah, I actually switched to Mugman for this level because it makes it a little easier, because of part of Miss Chalice's mechanics, the way that she dash parries, you end up getting a lot of accidental parries and accidentally reversing gravity when you don't want to if you're playing this level as Miss Chalice and trying to go quickly. So
Yeah.
switching back to Cuphead or Mugman for this level makes things go a lot smoother.
And seems like it may be avoidable, but it is so frustrating to come through here with Miss Chalice and just get an accidental parry like 20 times in the same level.
Yeah. Every time you get a parry as well, like something that people don't talk about that much, is it actually freezes the screen for 10 frames, so that actually makes things go quite a bit slower. When you consider that like every 6 parries you're just adding an extra second of time.
Wait, so being more skillful loses... I'm gonna have to consider
yeah,
this.
Isn't that interesting?
This goes against everything I've ever learned.
Mm-hmm. So you'll notice a lot of fights will actually opt not to get parries at all, because not only do they take up time and screen lag, but they also add an extra line to the results screen whenever you're scrolling through. That takes about another like 0.8 seconds or so compared to not getting any parries at all. So even though the parries are helpful, by the way, sorry, this is a good time for donations after I'm done saying this. We're in another mausoleum level, but yeah, basically the parries, if they don't save you more than a second, they're not worth getting.
All right, I'm on it. We've got a $50 donation train that's been jetting us towards the Portal bonus game. We're at 1,500 out of 80,000. With donations like Inkjet Fire 911 sending in $50, saying incredible to watch the skill on display, completing Cuphead 300%. Donating to Wallop Cancer once and for all. Incentive goes towards Yakuza Kiwami Karaoke. $50 from Salmon Buffalo, who says throwing a couple of coins towards this amazing cause. Jason, you're on the big stage now, so don't botanic panic and cause a carnival kerfuffle, or else you'll need to do the bootlegger boogie to avoid high seas hijinks. Best of luck on the run. Much love, Salmon.
Salmon, great job, man. A lot of thought in that one. Thank you. And we're gonna go put the curse relic back on because we're coming up on another plane level, the Jimmy the Great fight. Which I think, just by sheer design, Jimmy the Great's probably my favorite boss in the game, just because
Really cool
the fight has very cool progression. Yeah. And it's a very difficult fight with the curse relic here, so I'm going to concentrate a little bit.
It also has one of the 3 secret phases in the, or 4 now with the DLC. One of the secret phases in the game, but it is not faster for this run. So we're not going to be doing the secret phase for this. Oh, nice try.
That was rough
yeah,
RNG in the
very
first
hard
phase.
to do the beginning of the curse relic fights. You start with 1 HP and you got to be really, really careful. I don't know why he's so angry at us. I think we may have rubbed him the wrong way.
Well, I wish the second time we go through this goes a little easier, a little more smoothly here. Okay. We got that 2 HP now. We got that push.
All these pillars are doing additional damage to the boss. This damage is carrying over to the next phase. So maximizing the damage on each of these pillars will actually help you out a bit if you can do it. It's not always the easiest, but it does a really good job there.
Thanks. Yeah, each of those wall pieces, you can destroy them in 1 bomb, or 6 mini plane bullets. So I try to do 5 mini plane bullets plus a bomb just to maximize the amount of damage you get on those. And then we're able to finish that sarcophagus phase pretty quickly here. This is where you'd normally trigger the secret phase. If you stay as a mini plane for this, you would go right to the final phase, and the final phase is a lot more HP. We're opting to do the fight normally though, because as I mentioned, it doesn't really save time doing the fight that way.
If you're like perfect, then sometimes it would. If you were like a genius, maybe.
I'll say though, he's damaging this boss at an amazing rate.
Getting lots of value out of these EXs in the last phase because he has a very big hitbox.
And it looks subtle, but there's a lot of small things I'm doing to kind of manipulate where his eye rings are shooting, so to make it a little bit easier to dodge in that final phase. But yeah, that fight went pretty smoothly the second time around.
Nice.
Okay. So I'm going to go switch back to Miss Chalice now for the next couple fights. Coming up, we have the Beppy the Clown fight, and there will be no clowning around here. This boss is pretty difficult, actually. It's definitely no joke.
Nice. nice. Getting a 3 cycle there. Sometimes you can get a 2 cycle if you're not careful, or if you could just do it on purpose. But doing more damage in the first phase there will actually help Jason get rid of this second phase a bit faster, and it's pretty good to get rid of it fast because you have to jump up to hit that hitbox, and the train with the dogs is a very scary combo.
Yep, okay, we're able to finish that pretty quickly just before the plane gets here.
Keeping,
let's go into the final phase of 2 HP here.
Keeping 2 HP. And here's an example of where, even though weapon swap glitch got patched for this game a long time ago, it's actually really good to, very effective to swap weapons quickly if you have EXs. It requires a specific timing, but even on the current patch, swapping weapons is extremely good, and in some situations it's done a lot.
Yeah, mainly during your EX attacks. Normally whenever you shoot an EX attack, you stop shooting your weapon in order to shoot the EX attack, but if you swap weapons while you're doing the EX attack, like after you press the EX button, it allows you to continue shooting your weapon before the EX comes out, and then vice versa after the EX comes out before you start shooting normally again. If you swap again, it'll also allow you to continue shooting weapons. So we do a bunch of very quick swaps during EXs, so we're effectively shooting while we're doing the EX attacks, and that ends up adding up to quite a bit of damage over time.
Right.
We're moving on to aisle 3. This game's just flying by.
Yeah.
You really coasted on through. If I may, we've got $25 from Aura, who says, "At first I was worried Jason was getting mugged, but it seems like he's quite cuppable. With all the crafty tricks up his sleeves, I'm enjoying the most one-sided Cuphead playthrough I've ever seen. Let's keep bringing in the saucer and beat cancer."
That was amazing.
Hey, Sublime, what do you think this guy's favorite band is?
Is it the Beatles?
Ooh, good choice. Actually, it's the Police, but not for the reason you'd think. It's because his favorite singer is Sting.
I thought it was gonna be Beethoven or Beyonce or something.
Little Bee Gees.
I mean, I thought it was going to be the Archies. You remember that song, Sugar, Honey, Honey?
Ooh, yeah. That'd have been good too. I was just thinking about how I need to stay alive here. So.
Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Watch the speed run too, so you can actually know what the hell you're hearing.
If you do enough damage, you can actually finish him right before final phase, before she turns to this plane there. But we just missed out on it by one shot. It's really close.
Yeah. It's very cool though to get it before the plane even arrives.
Next, we're actually going to see another unique.
This part of the art stream is an auto scroll. You can go ahead and read a donation message. All right, we have a $50 donation from the Purple Cheese Man saying, "Please draw Robo Kunai, and also kill the animals." Thank you so much.
Start of the next level on simple or regular difficulty. But even if you're on expert, it allows you to have double health for running guns. And because of that, even though it takes a few seconds to summon the genie, we're able to save a lot of time with damage boosting on this level in particular. You'll see it especially at the very end where they have a section that's kind of like an auto-scroller, but we can break the auto-scroller section by dashing ahead of it. So you'll see what I mean a little bit, how this extra HP will save us quite a bit of time.
Yeah, and combining this with Miss Chalice's extra HP just innately, and her double jump, and just her dash reset, it's very, very... like adding all those up makes this much easier, and there's more leeway to take damage. Onto the second rock in this level that's just lying right in the way. It's a very effective spot to take damage with the lions, and here Jason's at 5 HP. There's a lot of damage boosting that can be done here to just skip this entire chasing section and just get to the end.
Yeah, there we go. We saved quite a bit of time there.
And this concept's going to be used in the other running gun as well, but there is there's a pretty cool skip you can get with that he's going to go for.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit here. Coming up next, we're going to do the next 2 fights with the Cursed Relic. Everyone's favorite Dr. Cal is coming up here, which is often cited as one of the hardest fights in the game, and we're going to be doing it with the Cursed Relic at 1 HP. So Wish us luck here.
Yeah, definitely one of the critical points of the run is to clutch this out.
I'll tell you, this boss has got a screws, that's for sure. See, there go the screws. Just
yeah, almost didn't get the nuke.
Yeah.
Nice. Going into the final phase with 2 HP, it's really, really good. There's going to be a bunch of parries coming, so more potential to just get the health up and make sure that you're not losing too much damage trying to save your health.
Yeah, we got an extra HP now. We're sitting pretty comfortable here. Gonna take some damage boost here. I took it right before I used this nuke, unfortunately, which loses us a bit of time since we got iframes that we didn't want there, so we couldn't use our nuke right away, but still going smoothly. There we go. Goodbye, Dr. Cal. May you rest in peace. The next fight is actually the only fight where we use the Cursed Relic on a non-plane level, and you'll see what we mean about the randomization of the weapons, because it ends up being quite tricky to get the weapon that you want. I'm going to be cycling through weapons trying to find at least one of the more desirable weapons on this fight. But luckily, we only have 2 more fights to go in order to uncurse this relic, fighting these bosses on Isle 3, because they give you more points toward uncursing the relic as opposed to earlier bosses.
And unfortunately, with the Cursed Relic, there is no way to cheese this mouse, but Roundabout is a very strong option because there's going to be a lot of naturally just turning around in this fight, and it gives you the ability to strafe without changing your weapon because you won't have to dash. But obviously, you want to dash to be careful because you're at 1 HP here. And so getting Roundabout and just keeping it is pretty strong. You don't know what weapon you're going to get if you EX here to try and boost your damage, and so the consistency is very valuable.
Oh my goodness, I made a miscalculation there.
Yeah, it's very hard. This fight can give parries at the beginning, but it doesn't have to. And
yeah, see, we got fortunate here. Yeah. This time we get a parry attack right off the bat, so now we have 3 HP as opposed to last time where we got 2 bad attacks in a row. So now we're looking a lot better here. Rats. Just hoping to get that one first try.
Oh, time for some donation funds while we work our way back through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That sounds good.
Great. $5 from Six Balls, who says this speedrun's definitely my cup of tea. Spirit Bear sends in $25 and says, I submitted 10 puns to a writing contest hoping one would win. Sadly, no pun intended.
Nice.
The Sound Defense donates $50 to PCF and says, I don't know how Jason defeated that genie boss so fast. It was like magic. And that guy Harvey sends in $25. Best of luck to Jason in China. Have a great run. Don't you dare think about shelving these puns. In fact, draw more from your cupboards and stir up some crockers for Chad. I'm sure they'll be left shattered with laughter. Much love to all. My donation goes to the Portal bonus game, Champagne. Let's all raise a glass to GDQ and have ourselves a grande old time. Just like Goofy. Thanks very much to everyone.
Thank you.
So, one thing you'll notice with the Cursed Relic that I was doing toward the end there is that now that the relic is getting closer to being uncursed, it is allowing us to use our parry as the Whetstone Charm somewhat frequently. In that fight, it was every 2 or 3 parries was giving us a Whetstone hit, which allows your parry to turn into an axe attack, which does some extra damage. And you'll see that a little bit in the last fight that we're going to be doing with the Cursed Relic, which is coming up shortly. But for this fight, we are going to go to Captain Brinybeard. I got a joke for you, Sublime. What is Captain Brinybeard's favorite letter of the alphabet?
Is it R?
You'd think R, but it's actually the C.
True, it's a pirate's first love.
Well, one of his favorites has to be P, because without it, he would be irate.
True. Oh, this guy does seem pretty
I was
irate.
gonna say, I think he might be right now.
Oh my god. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Oh, mama.
Alright, we're going on the final phase right here. We're going to try for some cool damage boost right here during this laser here, which you're supposed to dodge by either parrying it or going under it, but we're just going to go get hit by it.
Nice.
Now we have one more run and gun before the final Curse Relic. So this is another example of a level that we're going to be using the Game Genie on to start with double the HP. And you'll see that there's a nice little skip that we can do at the end, assuming things go smoothly, which will allow us to save maybe 15 seconds or so. And just for anyone curious that's watching and doesn't know the mechanics of the Game Genie, you can only use it 3 times on your first time through the game, and after you complete the game, you can use it as many times as you want.
Luckily, we don't have to use it more than 3 times for this run.
Yeah. Yeah, we only have to use it twice. We don't really have to use it at all, but it's
No.
only really helpful to use twice.
And hopefully nothing goes wrong that would cause you to have to do an action replay. That's not really a pun, more of a reference, but I thought it was suitably esoteric.
Hey, references are fine, you know? Alright, here we go. We're gonna take some damage boost here because we do have a lot of HP, but normally there's an auto scroller here triggered by parrying that octopus, and we are going to skip it completely. Hopefully not that.
Yeah, I was a bit worried. Yeah, okay, that worked out. So that saves a lot of time.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah. Normally, if you parry that octopus, you get locked into an auto scroller. Unlike the one that's on Rugged Ridge, you can't just skip it by dashing forward. You're actually locked into the screen. So it helps a lot to just skip that auto scroller part completely.
Yeah.
All right. And we are on the last first roll.
Yeah, so the last fight where he's gonna start with 1 HP, and this fight can be really scary. There's a lot of really tough patterns, and he doesn't have to get a parry right away, so it can be really tricky sometimes.
I'm going to be rounding in some whetstone hits because now at this stage of the relic, we're getting a whetstone hit every other parry if we want, and they'll just add a little bit of extra damage, but we need to get extremely close, which is very dangerous with 1 HP here. Luckily, we have a little buffer here now. We have 2 HP, but it's a little tricky.
I tried my best to incorporate an ocean pun here somehow, but I couldn't find a Pacific way.
Nice. I mean, I got some of my own. I could talk about how Calamari is thick with 7 Cs, but I'll just mention that I'm feeling pretty good about this fight right now.
Did you just say you're ealing good?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
As you should be, at least unless you get raw.
Alright, here we go. Final phase here. Still down to 1 HP because we did take that hit in that second phase there, but we're going to try to stay close. Interesting thing about this boss, if you're close enough to her, she actually can't hit you with any of her attacks in final phase. You just need to dodge these little spike walls that are at the end.
Yeah, so it's a very strong strategy to just stare at the back of her head and just see where the spikes are going, and then you can just hold up or down. You don't need to move left or right anymore. It simplifies the last phase, and that's one of the most RNG heavy phases casually too. So it's extremely
yeah, it can help a lot just on your first play.
Yeah, to know that that's a thing.
And now we have the Cursed Relic. It's uncursed. It's now the Divine Relic, but we are going to shelve that for now. It is pretty cool. It's a cool weapon conceptually, but the power of this chalice just helps us too much in this run. And you'll see also here on the Sally Stage Play Fight, there's a really cool glitch that we can do, and this chalice makes it significantly easier to do otherwise. So we're going to go try to trigger it right here.
Yeah, this takes a lot of time.
So normally there's a secret phase here that if you just lower the little angels on the side, the thing in the background falls down and crushes her husband. and then sends the rest of the fight down a different path. All right, we got it.
Nice.
But if you trigger the fight, the secret phase at the same time as you trigger the fight's second phase normally, it ends up glitching the fight out and skipping you right to the third phase, which saves you quite a bit of time on just screen transitions, because there's a lot of lengthy screen transitions for this fight. Oof. Ooh,
oh,
boy.
Nice.
Oh.
Good place a little safe here.
You got this. Nice.
All right.
GG.
Phew.
Yeah, so playing it a bit safe in the last couple phases, but it's
I'm gonna do a few more, at least
that,
until
very fast time.
Still safe.
the Cuphead run is over.
I think I played that as best as I could.
Yeah.
That RNG.
Because I've got, in total, I have about 95 altogether, and I just finished 72.
Next is a fight
So.
that I think I've trained pretty well.
Oh my goodness, I was gonna say that.
Oh, sorry, man. Pick your puns here. But we are not going to suplex this train, despite the fact that it resembles the Phantom train from Final Fantasy VI quite a bit.
Pretty tough first phase with those strategies. Yeah. It's really fast, but it's really scary. You don't want to lose like 3 HP there and just do the rest of the fight on 1. Nice.
Going about as good as they could so far.
Yeah, it was a comfy 2 cycle, and then now he's going to do a little bit of damage to each one and see who's attacking. Nice, that was really good.
Yeah, that was a smooth fight. I think ideally, like, if you play this fight perfectly, you can get like a 59-second fight on Expert. I think this is on track for... not quite that well.
On track, he says.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a 2 cycle on the final phase there. You could get a 1 cycle on that, but I missed 1 key charge shot earlier on. But it's okay. There's still a 105. It's still really solid. And now we have quite a bit of downtime. We have maybe 2 or 3 minutes before the next fight because we have to take care of some endgame stuff. We have to pick up a secret coin from Inkwell Hell, and we have to go back to the shop to go buy all the items, then do Mausoleum 3 before we go into the final push of the run here. So if you have any other donations, you have quite a bit of time to read them right now, T-Tree.
Certainly. We've got $250 from the Phantom Express, who says, so glad we were able to punch our ticket for this bonus speedrun of one of my all-time favorite games. The fact that we've already raised $100,000 really raises my spirit. We're well on track to hitting $200,000. Hope you've trained hard to try and defeat me, Jason. You better bring your best puns or you won't have a ghost of a chance. Would that I could have read that just 2 minutes earlier, but thank you so much for your generosity, Phantom Express. It is absolutely timeless.
Thank you.
Cyberbot X sends in $25 saying, been loving this Cuphead speedrun, although I am very much going boo earns at the funds. Best of luck on the run, putting this to the Void Flush showcase in Cultic later on. We're doing a really... reference? Yes, I do believe so.
Nice.
Let's see, while you try to avoid getting hit by football, let's get a quick update on some of our challenges. We are more than halfway to the Cultic Void Flush incentive that Cyberbot X just mentioned, 2,230 out of 4,000. We are 3/4 of the way to the Yakuza Kiwami karaoke performance. If you want to hear Baka Mitai, we're going to need another $2,300, but I think that is absolutely nothing for you, chat. I absolutely believe in you. The Super Boss Showcase for Yakuza Kiwami is also active at 3,190, so just about 11% out of the $30,000 goal. And the Portal bonus game is warping its way ahead at $2,508. So please keep it up, everyone. Time for a little bit more.
Yeah. We still got maybe another minute or so. Maybe like
no
30,
problem.
30 seconds.
Problem Patrick donates $50 to the Prevent Cancer Foundation, saying this is a really great Cuphead run, but with all the puns, I have to see it as a glass half full. Thank you to my partner for the joke. We've been having a great time ripping off of the commentary. Good luck on the run. We hear the final boss is a devil of a time. The Brigade with $25 saying, "Wee wee." Longtime watcher, very first-time donator. AGDQ has been a way for me to continue to connect with my friends through thick and thin. It has been the light of my life, and I've met friends for life. Super hyped for the Cuphead run. Let's roll those dice. Good luck, Jason, and don't cry over spilled milk. From the Brigade.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now you'll notice I actually am going to play the last two levels here as Mugman. We equipped a charm known as Whetstone, which I described a little bit before. It turns your parry into an axe attack. But now we'll be able to use it for every parry because we're using the actual charm itself rather than the cursed relic. And this will help us speed up some of these boss fights. It's going to make them very high risk, but it is going to make it faster. So we got to do what we can, you know?
Yeah, he's got.
I think it's more fitting for Mugman or Cuphead themselves to be the ones facing off against King Dice and the Devil rather than letting Chalice do the heavy lifting, you know?
I had to let you. I thought you were gonna go for something there. With 1 HP less, it's also just scary because you can't damage boost as much. He's going to be getting 3 HP extra no matter what because he has to do every single level here. But it's definitely very high risk, high reward to be doing this.
And one thing worth noting too is defeating all of King Dice's mini bosses here isn't actually required for 300% on your file, but we like to include it as part of the 300% category because it does fill out your checklist. So later on, after we complete the run, I'll go back and show the complete checklist with all the King Dice mini bosses filled in, all the levels completed, and all the items and all that, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, you'll see here we're using some Whetstone tech here, which allows you to basically parry off of anything.
This looks really cool too. Nice.
You finished that. That was a really, really fast.
Yeah, that was very good.
We're really rolling through these, huh?
Yeah. There's some really good puns in chat.
Yeah, they're definitely chipping in with some good ones.
So using the Whetstone here to jump over this hitbox, it's you cannot stand there and dodge that or duck it. You have to get out of the way. And so he's doing extra damage while also making sure he doesn't need to move or stop shooting. It's very, very good.
Yeah, that cigar just got smoked, huh?
I guess I like him better than the poker chips. He always had a chip on his shoulder.
This fight's really fun to get. A lot of jumping and dodging here.
Nice. Using charge in conjunction with the Whetstone is extremely good.
Yeah, it's a very efficient combo to use because while you're flying around setting up Whetstone hits, you can be charging your charge shots and then shooting the boss at them whenever you get fully charged.
I mean, you really didn't seem to have much problem there. Would you say that domino was a pushover?
Yes.
See, I was trying to think of puns for this rabbit, but none of them were very funny.
I'm sure
Year of the bunny.
If you tried.
Oh, man.
There we go.
Nice.
Okay. Things are looking pretty dicey there for a moment, huh? This is actually kind of a tough stretch of mini bosses because you'll see the number 9 has a heart above it, and it could have been over to number 7 or number 8, so that's where we'll get our bonus HP, but it's in the last mini boss, so we'll have only 3 HP to deal with till we get there. And these are some of the hardest fights in the run. Oh boy, that's close.
This one's really tough. You gotta make sure you're not horsing around.
I'd make some jokes about odds making, but I bet no one would get them.
And now I'm not sure, like, every time you guys talk, I'm not sure if you guys are making puns that are flying over my head or if you're just talking.
That's how I know listening really carefully now.
Yeah. Like dissecting everything everyone's saying. Like, oh man, I'm missing out on jokes. This one is actually pretty difficult too. You need to concentrate here a little bit.
Yeah, doing this on experts with Cuphead, or without Smoke Dash, just with Cuphead or Mugman is very, very hard. There's a lot of projectiles with the rain that she does, and you don't have much time to get away sometimes. And there's also some really, really tricky patterns that can... In one, for example, it's better to walk than it is to dash, and it can just be really, really hard to deal with.
Can you see what boss is coming next, Sublime?
Is it the 8-ball?
Are you able to see the future? Yes, you can see the future.
Are you sure you shouldn't just ask again later? Oh wait, never mind.
That is probably the easiest of the King Dice mini bosses there. I think it has the lowest HP of the bosses, and it's another one of those bosses where they don't have a hurt box, so you're free to like bounce into them as much as you want. You only get hit by the other things on screen. This boss is kind of infamous, the monkey. It's been kind of an infamous boss since the legacy version of the game. But I'm going to try to beat this one as quickly as possible. I do need to try. It's a matching game here, so I got to concentrate a little bit.
Right. There is a small skip he's going to be going for here, where he can kill the monkey before matching the last cards, and it can be sometimes pretty tight to get, but he's going to try his best here. It definitely saves a little bit of time. And this is one of the levels where like you really have to pay attention at the beginning, because it shows you where all the matches are right at the beginning, and then it turns them away, so you only have like a moment to look, but there are 12 boards on expert, so you can potentially memorize them if you like study which boards are which and recognize them early enough. All right, here comes the nuke.
Oh yes.
Nice, dude.
I got the early kill there with that. If you time your nuke just correctly, usually he becomes invulnerable again at certain damage thresholds. But if you over damage right on the second to last card flip, you can actually finish him without flipping all the cards. It's a neat little trick.
He's going into the last part.
You're saying you showed us a card trick?
Yes, I showed you guys a card trick. There we go. It's a good fight.
Nice.
All right, and then on to the final part of the run. That's a 5:39. That's ridiculous. That's a very, very good time for the King Dice jump right here.
Getting the star skip as well to make this a very fast hell.
So coming up here, so we've gone through, we collected all the soul contracts, and should we say yes to the devil? Should we agree to him? Should we give him back all the soul contracts and join him?
Which one gets us closer to 300%?
Saying no. I always say no to the devil, kids. And by the way, whoever's working the time, whenever we see knockout on this level is going to be the run here. And yeah, we're using the whetstone attack for this fight as well, because it just helps speed things along a little bit. You're able to do that extra damage with the parries while you're fighting him here.
It also lets you get in a full spread EX inside of his head, so that's very, very good.
Sure about so before the devil, before he opened up his casino, did he actually have his own YouTube account?
No.
It got demonetized.
That was good.
Oh my goodness.
That speaks to my generation.
I want HP here. Gotta be a little careful. The whetstones are very effective with on the eyes. Oof. Touch, dude.
Ooh,
Nice.
Beautiful.
That was very
Thank you, everyone. Oh boy, 1 minute flat on the double. Now, don't go anywhere yet, guys. I'm going to just go through, load back into the file, and just show you guys what a completed file looks like, just for the all people out there that are curious to see to make sure that we actually did get 300%. But yeah, the end of the game here, we destroy all the soul contracts, we rescue all the residents of Inkwell Isle, everyone's happy, they rejoice, Cuphead and Mugman, and then they're all out of trouble. And that's the end. So that was Cuphead. That was 300%, everyone. Like I said, we're going to go just get back into it here. While we're loading back in, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the Cuphead speedrunning community. If you guys like this run, you enjoy Cuphead, definitely join the Discord. If you go to speedrun.com/Cuphead, click the Discord link. We would love to have new people there. Definitely want to give a huge shout out to the GDQ staff for putting up with my tech troubles that I've had in weeks leading up to this, and also just for selecting me to run such a wonderful game in front of so many people here. And so here's the completed file. We have all the weapons unlocked. We have all 3 super arts, although we didn't use any of them throughout the run. We have all the charms, including the Divine Relic, and the checklist is all complete. Everything.
All right, this will be the last one that I do for today. I'll come back another day to finish them up.
That's the game.
Nice. That was a really good run, dude. Good job.
Thanks. And I also want to give a huge shout out as well to Sublime for joining me on commentary, and especially because it is so late his time. He's over in Europe. What time is it now, Sublime?
It's
like
2:45 here in the Netherlands.
But yeah, do you have any last words?
Thank you to everyone who's watching and to everyone who donated. It was an honor to be able to commentate for GDQ. And if you're looking to do speedruns, challenge runs, or you just want to find a community of players for this game, the speedrunning and hitlist communities are both very helpful and welcoming, and you can find links to the Discord servers of those communities on the Cuphead section of speedrun.com and Team Hitlist. And I hope you enjoyed the run, and thank you all so much for being part of the event.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So I guess we'll send it back to a tea tree, and I believe the next game coming up is Donkey Kong Country 3, which I'm very excited to watch. That's one of my favorite games of my childhood, so thank you everyone for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's going to be a Donkey Kong Country 3 any percent race that I'm going to watch after I finish up this cute little lizard guy. In this last one, if you guys have any couple questions or anything, I can do a little mini AMA real quick. Keeping an eye on the chat again here. And thank you all very much for your concerns of my health. I'm okay.
While we are preparing for our next run, we've got one donation that I would like to highlight in particular. It is $5 from Wolfadex, who says, "More puns, please." That might have been intended for the Cuphead run, but if you want to monkey around with some Donkey Kong puns, I wouldn't say no. We've also got $10 from Backpack, who says, "I've lost multiple family members to cancer and a friend who survived breast cancer. I adore the Prevent Cancer Foundation and am proud to add to the donation pool. Thank you so much, HEDQ staff, runners, and viewers like you." Dad joke time. A kid tells their dad that they're cold. The dad then tells the kid to go stand in the corner. The kid asks the dad why, and dad responds, "Because it's 90 degrees. I'll see myself out." And on that note, we will be right back in just a moment.
Have I ever attempted speedrunning? Not legitimately. There are a couple games that and I haven't, tried playing them that quickly in many years, but my best times for some of the games that I'm decent at are I've beaten the original Donkey Kong Country, I think in just under an hour. I think I did that once, and I've beaten Banjo-Kazooie 100%. I think I've beaten that in about 5 hours, maybe. It's been a few years since I've attempted, like super quick runs, but that's the best that I can do in terms of my own ability. And there's some games that I know like some of the tricks for, like I know some of the Sonic 06 speed tricks for when I've tried to play through that game relatively quickly. And I can't remember. I've also beaten Shovel Knight relatively fast as well, though I can't remember how long that took to get through all that. Favorite Tome character to draw of any incarnation? I don't know. It changes a lot. How long did I make Tome for? Well, I'd spent 4 years on the 2011 series that these compilation movies are being based on. I spent another 4 years on the RPG, making the video game. And I don't remember how long it took me to do TTA for. I think it was probably also about 3 or 4 years. So yeah, quite a big chunk of my life I've spent doing Tome stuff. Where did I get the idea to include fan characters in my works as a donation incentive? I've been doing that for quite a while. I don't remember exactly where I got the idea for it. It might have just been from like when crowdfunding was beginning to take off in general for stuff, and I thought, oh, that's such a great idea because I've included other people's characters since TTA. But I also realized, like, back when like money wasn't really involved in that sort of thing, and I just did stuff for fun, I realized, like, well, it would be nice to have an actual budget to pay myself or anybody who's helping me with some of these things. So I figured, yeah, this would be a great way to include people's characters in the background and flesh out the world a little bit more, since it's supposed to be like a game that's played by thousands of people. And it'd be a great way to make some money. And it gives me the esteemed honor of getting to draw all of your guys' characters, so... Did I wrap TTA or end it on a cliffhanger? I wrapped up a 3rd season of it, and then I never did the 4th season. I got, more interested in doing other things and then never came back to it, and don't have any interest in doing that. Sad to say for people that were fans of that one. I still meet people sometimes that are like, oh, that's TTA was the best version of Tome, and I'm just like, please experience other things. Please touch grass.
People like Fangamer, a video game merchandise company who you may know, I certainly do well. They have official collections for games like Hades, Celeste, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, and as part of ongoing expansions, they are able to ship worldwide their collection of merchandise for all of those games and their game quick lineup. As soon as I'm done hosting...
What was the first anime that I ever dubbed? It was Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Back in 2009, I played Corey. Am I a cat person or dog person? I like both. I am more of a dog person, but I have grown to like cats again. After many years. Yeah, if you go looking on my YouTube channel, you can find a video where I have a link to a Google Drive where you can watch all of TTA as Flash movie files. Don't recommend it because they're not good. But if you're curious to see the cough cough humble beginnings of of where Tome came from. You can experience it that way, certainly. All right. We are up to 75 in total, and we have, I think, about 20 or so left to do. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Okay. So, I'm going to head off and go watch that Donkey Kong Country 3 stream. Please be sure to go check out the Heart of the Cards podcast, as well as the Epithet Erased Prison of Plastic audiobook, which I was able to listen to. And tune into Games Done Quick all this week and donate to Prevent Cancer Foundation to help those guys out. So, and thank you very much for donating to my my Tome A2Z movie project compilation film trilogy. Once again, the first one will be coming out in February 20th of 2023, so a little over a month from now. And stay tuned. Maybe sometime this week I'll work on the next batch, probably the final batch of characters left to do for all these guys that will be appearing in here. So, all right. Well, everybody, I will catch you later. Take care. Have a great one.